For those of you here in the paddock today, and for those of you tuning in live from around the world, welcome to the final day of action here at Orlando Kart Center. We are so excited to bring you every bit of the coverage here. Myself, Xander Clements, alongside me, Henry Beaudet, for another full day of semi-pro action and the main events for the inaugural SuperKarts USA Pro Tour Pro Show, presented in part here by our fantastic broadcast partners like Coastal Ink Printing and Coastal Metal, our official title partner, AccelerationKartRacing.com, where again you have the promo code SPRING10 for 10% off, still available all the way till noon tomorrow. And of course, here live in the booth to kick things off the morning. First thing in the morning, ready to get things underway, Henry, with warm-ups. We got a lot of overnight showers, and so all of the grip we built up yesterday and all the rubber that was washed off the driver's line, well, now that's all been completely muddied up on the racetrack, and there is a good amount of standing water. In fact, the KA Juniors have the wet tires on here for morning warm-up.
Yes, it's going to be an excellent day, as we saw yesterday. Obviously, there were a few incidents and talking points that we'll be bringing you up to date with as the day progresses. The 7 semi-pro classes have a second full round of the Winter Nationals, whereas the Pro Show, we've got one race for each class, but it's the longest race of the day of the season so far for each of those 25 minutes, as KA 100 Junior, like you said, Xander Clements, on wet tyres, head out onto the circuit. But the forecast for today, well, we're not expecting too much more rain, if any at all, but there's no wind in the air, so there's not a breeze that will be helping to dry the track. It's going to simply be a case of how much does the temperature go up, and then how much water on the track surface do our drivers dissipate with their wet tyres. Now, of course, it's not just Xander and myself on the broadcast. Obviously, we have Alex Searle and Caleb Fiesca down in the pit lane. This portion of the race meeting, as always, is free to air, warm-ups and qualifying. The semi-pro pre-finals and finals are, as you would expect, behind the KC Live premium subscription. But, and this is really significant, the first ever Pro Show finals are free. And the whole world can see just what this new era in North American karting will look like when the Pro Show begins.
Yeah, and that is just going to be so much fun. We're going to get to talk to so many more drivers than we normally do to bring you all the action. They're going to be up on the grid with about 20 minutes for each of their mains. A lot of the times we'll get feedback here, both in terms of the karts we feature on the racetrack and the drivers that we talk to, that we don't get to go deep enough down the grid. We don't get to tell you a little bit about everybody. Well, if you're in the pro categories, you are an all-star, and so we want to make sure that all the all-stars get a little bit of love, and at the same time you get to meet them and understand the gravity of what it means here for some of these drivers just to get a top 10, just to finish, just to hit a new personal best, or even a potential first top 5 or podium. That is just as meaningful and impactful for many in those divisions as it is for the guys up front to get a big-time race win and get that big payday of $5,000 here at the end of the main event. And, of course, they're not the only ones that are getting paid while they're the classes with the pro nomenclature. Every class is eligible for a little bit of a purse bump here this season. Over $310,000 here in the cash prize pool, or cash and prize total package for the 2024 SKUSA Pro Tour over the 3-round championship. A good chunk of that is cold hard cash. A good chunk of that as well is also entries and tires going into either the Super Nationals in Las Vegas at the end of the year or the 2025 SKUSA Pro Tour season. And one of those classes that's got a bit of both this weekend is this massively packed group. KA 100 Junior has 50 drivers on the grid. They need a minimum of 30 to get a little cash bonus. So yesterday's podium got $1,000 to the winner, $500 to second, $250 down to third. But then, of course, also the championship. The champ wins his way to another year of racing with a fully paid Pro Tour entry and tire bill for the 2025 schedule. And that's, of course, a huge help for any bit. All helps here in trying to make it where you can get to the next show. Now, on the racetrack, again, it is super, super slick right now for warm-up, so you're not going to see all of the drivers on the circuit. In fact, we only got 17, and a lot of them are the rookies. That's this group we're watching right now, at least a couple of them. Javier Herrera, Max Christia, Cameron Marcia, all three rookie drivers here getting some extra laps in the full-size cars on the wet conditions. Some of the more experienced drivers, they're not going to opt to go out right now because they know this track is going to be a lot more dry when we get to qualifying, so they won't get necessarily an accurate read on setup or how their kart's doing or, any bit for themselves to dial their driving in more. But for the younger drivers in their first year, maybe moving up from the cadet chassis to the full-size chassis, Henry, this is invaluable experience right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And somebody like Max Christea, let's not forget, born in Romania and now living in Georgia. It's his first season on the Pro Tour. On Friday, he was down in around 40th position. Yesterday, he got up into the top 3, finished inside the top 10 in the final, actually finished 10th, but that was with a setup that his dad said was wrong for the final. So an extra bit of lappery this morning for someone like Max, that could make a real impact, as he was trying to turn a negative in the final into a positive in the fact that, he's come in the top 10 in his very first national level event in terms of the Pro Tour event. That is the kart that we're following on screen, the 10th place car, 833. That is Christea we're looking at there. Yeah, top 10 yesterday, one of the Trinity karting group drivers. Obviously yesterday's winner, Enzo Vitmontien, has gone out, and he's fast in this session, but what a story yesterday. Enzo Vitmontien overcoming several bits of controversy. I think, it's on Thursday, exclusion from the Supernats, exclusion from the final round of the Winter Series, putting it together, a great drive, and taking the win.
Yeah, that's the big moment here, I think, for Enzo Vitmontien, is turning it around where he's able to just earn some respect back.
Yep.
I think, you even mentioned you had a conversation with him and his father earlier this weekend, and, it's hard not to feel, when you get a penalty that the world's kind of wronged you. But at the end of the day, the rules are the rules. The officials make their calls, and you're not going to agree with every single one. It's hard you're ever going to agree when you do get penalized, but more, no one's perfect, and that puts the officials in that same box. But that's a life lesson. Things don't always go your way. They're not always perfect down to the line. Life is imperfect. You need to be able to maintain your composure, take it with class, take it in stride, and move on. And that's exactly what I feel like he did yesterday. Showed up, drove a clean race, drove a smart race, didn't put a wheel wrong, didn't knock anyone off the racetrack, and got a very well-deserved win here as we remain on the wet tires.
Do we?
Not
everybody remains on the wet tires. Very briefly, that was a coming-of-age victory yesterday for Enzo Vidmontien. Also, to bring you up to speed for KA100 Junior, yesterday there was a couple of big incidents in that race. A couple of drivers failed to start the final because they had written chassis off. One of them was Alexander Vonchev, and I have noticed that Vonchev was out this morning. So some of the drivers that didn't take the start yesterday, they've obviously got new frames going down, a lot of burning the midnight oil. What can drivers like Vonchev do who are effectively starting their championship today? That was Junior. KA100 Senior, KA100 Senior. I think the biggest talking point of the entire semi-pro show last night, the KA100 Senior final, and that save from James Overbeck.
Yeah, I mean, man, what an unfortunate end to that race. What a great moment from James, but the guy on screen, that's probably would have been the biggest moment of that main event, was the final lap and the crash for it. And it's just a story we've seen, unfortunately, all too often in the K100 Senior category. Junior, to be fair, quite a bit as well. But these guys laying it on the line, and even in a championship points-paying main event like yesterday's final, crashing out of the main. Now, the good news for a guy like Colin Lloyd, who comes off as the vice champion from 2023, is that he returns this year with one drop in his division. The semi-pro classes, it's a best 5 of 6 rounds. And even though he got the pre-final win, a 22nd place result, that'll inevitably be the drop. Now, Connor Ferris, you can see, last second change, they're going to go to the slick tires for morning warm-ups, obviously thinking that it's at least dry enough that they can use those. And mainly they don't want to burn up the rain tires because you don't pay a price besides just being a little bit slower if you go slicks on too wet of a track. But too dry of a track with rain tires after one session, you'll cook them, Henry.
Yeah, indeed. The drivers, they want to potentially save their wet tires if need be. While we're on the subject of KA 100, there was obviously an incident yesterday in the final. Mario Barrios, who was taken to a local medical facility. Now, spoke to Mike Rollison from Barrios' Rollison Performance Group team. Mario is still in hospital. He is awake and alert. The medical teams have yet to fully confirm which bones are broken, although there are some broken bones. Mario's family are flying in. Some of them are already here. I know that his wife, a fellow racer, Grace Hemerde, we do give our thoughts to her. That Mario is going to make a full recovery, but there's no time scale yet on a complete diagnosis. But for those of you watching at home, he is okay, and it'll be a road recovery, but he's awake and alert.
Yeah, great news to hear about Mario Barrios. A very, very scary crash for him. Yeah, very unfortunate deal for Mario Barrios, all things considered, of how the very unfortunate deal with a very unfortunate deal indeed with Mario Barrios. But again, like Henry was saying, he was at least able to be alert with the medical team, be able to walk away under his own power, but complaining of some major back pain.
So here we are, and looking at Stephen Isett now in KA 100 Senior. What a day. Not in a positive sense for Isett yesterday. Very, very fast, but very fast, but absolutely luckless. He was taken out, or he was involved in an accident in the first couple of minutes of the original race. Couldn't take the restart. So Stephen Isett looking for some redemption today. And Colin Lloyd, let's have a little look. Where are we on tyres? Oh, there's a spin. Oh, and there is a problem. The 906 kart has lost a
Sawyer Roussel.
Yeah, Sawyer Roussel.
The Texan in his first full national season in K100 Senior with Team GWR, off on the inside curbing over there at turn at number 7. So he'll get 0 laps in warm-up. But down the front stretch here, Kane Martin, Anthony Rivera there in the Kart Republic. wet tires for both of those drivers right now, so they're going to probably populate quicker to the top. We'll keep an eye on Colin Lloyd.
11 seconds off the pace at the moment on wet tires. Now looking at the number 992 car, K. Martin, a crash in qualifying yesterday, which meant he had to start towards the tail end of the field, the pre-final. But when all was said and done, the number 992 finishing in 5th position. Obviously Finnegan Bailiff, big win yesterday, his first, and quite an emotional win. Cameron Weinberg from 35th on the grid up into P2, and James Overbeck after the spin, the spin and the save, he finishes 3rd. And of course independent driver Eli Warren finishing in 4th position.
On your screen as well, one guy that, like Kane Martin, had to start from the rear was Blake Nash, right behind his teammate Stephen Miller. The 964 had to start from the tail end of the field after being involved in a crash on the opening lap of the pre-final. He drove up a ton of spots in that main event, both initially off the first start and then after the red flag, and then reset after the second start. And thankfully today, he's got a much better start in warm-up. He is quickest by 0.3 over everyone at the moment, chasing down his teammate here as they head on the back straightaway. And you can see them taking the alternate line, both him and Miller. He's not trying to block the 973 of Stephen Miller from Blake. He's breaking off of the line, off the rubber, because while the rubber that gets laid down by the dry tires is more grip than the rest of the surface when the track is dry, it is less grip when it is wet. So when they want to brake and get the most amount of traction and grip, they're going to go off the rubber line into the corner, especially a heavy braking zone like turn 10. Although since Blake had to pass him, he's been passed up for the quickest time in warm-up. Aiden Shimbashi on the factory car, fastest by about 1/10 of a second right now of everyone on the wet tires. Quickest on the slicks, back in 12th.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the number 958 Peyton Phillips is on slick tires or wet tires, because he's got similar times to Colin Lloyd. But certainly there goes one of the Super Tune carts across the line. That was Gonzalez. Yeah, I think Peyton Phillips and Colin Lloyd were on slick tires. Now, within 2 minutes, or with 2 minutes to go in that session, they were 11 seconds off the pace. Within 2 laps, they are now 8 seconds. So, slick tyres, and you can see Colin Lloyd there. Now, look at how aggressive he's being on the steering inputs. That tells me on slick tyres, he's not tiptoeing around. He is giving the tyres a bit of a workout. He's finding a bit more grip. I'm not quite sure that slick tyres are the way to go at the moment, but this is warm-up. There's nothing on the line. We've already got the qualifying groups for the semi-pro classes decided. They were decided in happy hour on Friday. Here is Micro Swift. So here are the youngest members of our paddock. A recap yesterday. What a race in the final. So Winter Series champion Zane Burgess and the Brazilian Velocity Racing driver Marina Brandão, they went head-to-head in the final, and Burgess found a way to break Brandão's defences on the final lap to take the victory. So the Jamaican sensation, who has just been signed to a long-term contract with Sodi Kart, he has already started his Pro Tour season with a win. But for Brandão, a real statement drive from her as well. Santiago Orioli finishes on the podium, and Santiago Orioli, he took half a go-kart to the crash helmet yesterday in one of the incidents that we saw, one driver running up over the back of him. So Santiago, he is unscathed, a little bit shocked. I think it was Win Godshall who went up and over the back of Santiago Orioli and really gave his neck brace and his crash helmet a good clout. So Santiago Rioli battling through a bit of shock and a bit of the pain barrier yesterday to get onto the podium. Other little storylines to look out for: the young lady Taylor Wolf for the Dan Devereaux Racing team, coming home inside the top 6. We've got the driver's win and his brother Zev Goldschalk from Curaçao, and we know there's lots of viewers watching in their home country in Curaçao. A big hello to them, and just keep an eye out on 2 drivers who are having their very first race in Micro Swift. That would be the number 211 kart of Lennox Lockhart. He finished 25th yesterday with the PSL Bill ART team, and then the number 295 kart of Kaysen Sanders, who is literally, he is the shortest, the smallest driver. They have got so much lead on that kart, so many big pedal extensions to fit him in. Those are the 2 drivers. If you're watching home and you want to see how are the very first drives that any of these got in proper racing, those are the 2 drivers to look out for.
Yeah, we'll see though. I think we'll see some different names at the front of a Micro Swift field like this one. Some of these kids probably have never driven on wet conditions before. Some may have. So there's a look over at Alex and Caleb down on the pit lane. They'll be getting ready to bring you some more of the intel later on today from interviews with all of the drivers. But I have a feeling, Henry, this top 10, maybe even the top 15 might look a lot different. We kind of saw at Homestead, the guys at the very, very front, don't get me wrong, Zane Burgess, Santiago Orioli, and some of the other drivers that we've seen in that top 5. I wouldn't be surprised to see them right up at the top here again. But I think that 5th to 15th place group that is pretty typical on dry conditions, I think it might look a lot different here in warm-up on the wet tires.
Well, yeah, for example, let's look at the likes of number 221, Liam Francisco, for the Goodwood Kartways team. He was only 24th yesterday. We'd expect him to be further up. Dominic Vieira, the Colombian driver, in kart number 214 for the Energy Cores team. Yeah, we expect him to be far further up the pack. Ian Hamacha, who was really quick in qualifying in kart number 220, for the Sony USA team. Now we have a couple of drivers, including a couple of slicks by the looks of it, who have gone off coming out onto the circuit. But yeah, there's 3 drivers there, Hamacha, Francisco and Vieira, who should, could, and possibly will break into that fight for, lower reach of top 10, maybe even top 5, and who knows, potentially even a podium.
Yeah, that could definitely be within reach. And the thing is I don't know how dry this track's going to get for them to qualify. So, to be honest, going out right now, we are slowly drying it out, but the sun's not baking this racetrack. There's only 6 run groups before we get to the first one for qualifying. There's a very high chance that KA100 Junior first group is going to be just barely onto slick tires, if that. Again, still was an 8-second swing in that KA Senior session. This one, we'll see what it looks like for anyone that tried the slick tire gamble, but we're probably still a little ways away from being onto slicks for Qualy.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of people looking to bounce back yesterday, on our screens there, Leo Simoni, he was right in the thick of the action, a DQ in the final. Not quite sure what that was for. We'll get Alex and Emery to try and find out what the DQ was for. But again, there's a driver, that's his drop score, done. Or that's his championship not over, but potentially a real problem. There's Liam Nachawati in kart number 280 of the Paralin kart, 5th yesterday. He's overcoming a nasty facial injury that he suffered at Homestead in a paddock incident. Cuts to his face and nose, and a big gash on his forehead, and he did one final on Saturday, with looking like a real sort of war hero or warrior with a bandage around his head, blood coming on his race suit. These youngsters, he's the youngest members, age 7 to 10.
Yeah, what a battle scar to have mid-weekend and to still be able to lock in and get behind the wheel. But these kids, to be fair, sometimes, the micro kids, they can take some of the craziest licks and blows and hop right back up like rubber.
When you're young, you bounce more. When you get to my age, getting out of bed can sometimes be hurt. But yeah, when you're young, you bounce more. Now, speaking of the way that Leo Simoni, how do these young drivers bounce back from a disappointment? Well, after being DQ'd in the final, Leo Simoni, top of the board in warm-up. They refocus, they reset, and they go again. Looking down to see where's yesterday's race winner, the number 255, so the USA kart of Zane Burgess. The answer is, well, we can't see. He's not in the top 10. Runner at Marina Brandao is 9th at the moment, and third place driver, then Sebastian Orioli, podium yesterday, he's 4th. Let's not forget Nolan Carney. Now the U-Race team, based just next door to us really here in the paddock. The Katowski brothers, they had a good day for them. We had a podium for the U-Race team. There's number 292 on our screen. That's Jack Katowski. He had a really, really strong start to the day. And Katowski's teammates, Mikey Collins and Nolan Carney, are in the top 10 at the moment. So a promising start for a team maybe looking to try and join the upper echelons, the big guns, the RPGs, the PSL Barrel ARTs, and they've got a good crop of young drivers as well. Obviously, we have got the live chat feature on today's broadcast. And please keep your comments coming in to let us know who you're cheering for, where you're watching from. But we're coming towards the end of this warm-up session. Couldn't quite see how many drivers were on slick tyres, but we've got a 20-second gap between fastest and slowest, which tells me that some are.
Well, you're asking about Zane Burgess, and along with Zane Burgess electing to not go out for morning warm-up, a few other fast drivers from yesterday. Lennox Lockhart in the Barrel Art, Lawrence Perriman, Ajax Capitan Garduno, Samuel Chavari, Luca Beccarillo was in the top 10. Both Franco and Liani Chavo is unfortunately a little spin. I think one of the Bennecks, the 215 of Zev Godshock. I was going to say it might have been one of the Godshock brothers. I couldn't tell for sure. Slate Harrell also did not go out for morning warm-up. So yesterday's winner, Zane Burgess, not going out for the opening session. 26 drivers have. Quickest of them all, Leo Simoni, by about 6/10 here as the checkered flies for the final few times on by. Orioli will jump a little closer. He'll move up to 4th there at the end on that MPG OKP Kart Republic. But 3 sessions in, 3 more to go before we get to where things really begin to matter in qualifying for round 2 of the semi-pros. And let's go down to pit lane. Alexander Searle, Caleb Vieska, good morning to you boys, first and foremost. And second of all, what's it like down there? What's going on?
Thank you, guys. Yeah, good morning from myself, Alexander Searle, and you, Caleb Vieska. Yeah, vibes are up right now. Obviously, the anticipation is high. Round 1 yesterday, round 2 today. We see the track out there getting a lot drier. We saw some drivers on wet tires to start the day. Some are opting for the slicks. Still a bit of rain. By qualifying, should be all dry and set to go. But Caleb, yesterday we saw some incredible action from the KA senior guys. We saw it there earlier with one of the races of the year so far, to the pro guys later in the afternoon. What can we expect today?
Yeah, definitely going to be a very interesting day. And like you said, Xander, right? Today it's a lot cooler out, right? I have my jacket on, a little bit chilly out here, trying to stay as warm as I can. But yeah, I think we can expect hard racing again today, right? Yesterday was really hard in between the KA seniors, the juniors going at it in X30 and in KA100 junior, across in the micro and mini swift classes, So it's going to be good racing, I think, today. We saw it yesterday, and I expect the same today.
Yeah, and Caleb, we cannot forget about the pro show. Yesterday we had the anticipation of it was high, right? With the Super Pole pre-final was incredible. The final today, 25 minutes. It's a long race. We saw the likes of Formal even being tired. And for a guy like him to be tired after a race says a lot about how physically demanding this racetrack is and these races are. But we cannot wait for that. But nonetheless, Xander and Henry, incredible, atmosphere here in the paddock. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Alex. Thanks, Caleb. And again, like they were mentioning yesterday, the anticipation for the afternoon, I think almost it's, kind of like you have to wait for something a little more, it makes it even more special. It
Yes.
felt like everyone, lined the fences even more than they normally would. Definitely more than I think most would for qualifying, much less a pre-final for X30 for Pro X30 and Pro Shifter, because they didn't even get to see the racetrack till noon for the warm-up, and then 3:45, almost 4 p.m. as we were a little behind yesterday for their races. Having to wait for dessert,
Yes.
makes dessert taste a little bit sweeter sometimes.
Yeah, it does. And I think that the fact that by the time the pros went out, all the other drivers had finished their racing. So it gave all the semi-pro drivers a chance. Yeah, there was none of them were waiting on the dummy grid. None of them were getting their race suits on to get their karts down to the dummy grid. They had all finished for the day. It gave them all a chance to come out and look to see, what is the goal for them? What's the goal for the micros and the minis and the juniors as they move through the karting ranks? What can they expect? What's the hype like? And they could enjoy watching. A lot of the drivers in the pro show are driver coaches. They coach some of the younger members of the paddock, so it's a chance to go out and watch their coaches, their mentors in action. But of course, as we wait for our next qualifying session, one of our pro show drivers isn't even here at the circuit and won't be for some time.
Danny Formal, we posted about him last night. He's got 2 mornings of testing at Sebring International Raceway, 2.5 hours down the road with his sports car race team, Wayne Taylor Racing with Andretti Global, and then has to drive here. He wraps up around 1 to 1:30 p.m. He gets here right around 3 p.m., pushing the limits of the car on the track and off it to try and get here in time, and then got on the racetrack yesterday. Quickest in testing by a second and a half.
Yep.
Shows up here
At Sebring.
qualifies through stage 1 here in Orlando. Then in Super Bowl, opening lap, noses into the barrier,
Yep.
backs it out of the wall, refires the go-kart, qualifies second, wins the pre-final. He had a topsy-turvy day, but somehow he ended at the score charts in both when it mattered at the top. He'll lead us to green later on. Now, the engines are fired for X30 Junior. They'll be headed onto the racetrack now, and there's a look at Alexander Vanchev. And again, similar story to some of the other divisions. Not every driver electing to go out for warm-up. A good chunk, to be fair, a good percentage of the 21 drivers in X30 Junior, it appears, are going out now. And I would imagine a lot of them, since they're doing the double, running KA Junior and X30 Junior, what they learn right now in X30 is going to be really critical and really good intel for that KA Junior qualifying session, because it's only 2 more sessions away.
Yes, now we had 21 drivers in Junior X30. 1 driver, Chinese Taipei and the island of Taiwan's Junhao Chang. He broke his collarbone in an incident yesterday. He's withdrawn from the meeting today. We're down to 20 drivers, but Junhao is coming to the circuit today. That's always the problem there. But so Junhao Chang is going to join us today. Ty Fisher, who we saw a disqualification for Ty Fisher after the final. The big story yesterday, obviously we had the winner, the number 793 of Diego Dias, but on our screens now, that is the story of the day yesterday, Turner Brown. What a drive from Turner, from starting dead last, both he and Chase Gassioli involved in a last lap collision at exactly this point of the circuit in the final lap of the pre-final. They both had to start at the back of the field. They both came through the pack, Brown ahead of Gassioli, and at this point on the circuit, the last lap, where Turner Brown, battling for a podium, got involved in an incident and his day ended in the tyre barriers. That was after he led the race. Chase Gassioli, he ended up finishing 5th on the road, had a nose cone penalty which pushed him back to a still very creditable 7th. So while the battle for supremacy within the Rollerson Performance Group between Turner Brown, Diego Diaz in the number 792 kart there, in the number 793 kart, and Victor de Alencar, that's one storyline. Turner Brown trying to kickstart his championship after a terrible day yesterday, from last to first to being out of the last corner, and Sarah Bradley finally the Speed Concepts team, and they're the second real heavy hitters in this class. I know we're looking at Max at the number 720 car, Max Wyland, who had an up and down day yesterday, but really it's RPG versus Speed Concepts. Jackson Walney and Sarah Bradley, they eventually finished 3rd and 4th.
Yeah, and Turner Brown had just right before the main, after the crash in the pre-final, got some coaching from teammate and longtime mentor Marin Krummer. Said, dude, you are so wicked fast, but we have to stop these throwaway sessions when sometimes we end up losing the fight. Sometimes we have the go-kart that's not good enough to win, and take what the race can give you. Yep. You might have had the kart fast enough to win. You might have maybe deserved the win, but give me a 3rd, give me a 5th, and that's the one thing Turner Brown doesn't have just yet. He's got race wins. He's got some of the wins at the biggest races of them all, but he does not have a national championship. And this year, he comes in as one of the odds-on favorites. The good news, like we mentioned earlier for Colin Lloyd, you do get a drop. The same for Max Wyland, who had a struggling day yesterday. So yesterday, all right, that was your mulligan. Now for the next 5 race rounds, 1 today, 2 in Cincinnati, 2 in Newcastle. Time to be perfect. Time to go out there, be smart, take top 5s, take top 3s, take good qualifying efforts, and just, bring it all together. It's not the guy that wins all the races that wins the championship. Marin Kremers won the Pro Shifter Championship last year, even with drops factored in, just by podiuming everywhere. He didn't win a single main. In all 6 rounds, had different winners, and they all came up short because Marion would be 2nd, would be 3rd. If he couldn't win that day, he didn't throw the race away into the side of the faster driver to try and, will himself to the win. If he couldn't do it, he'd take what the track would give him, and that was the best that he was trying to pass on to Turner. It's one that I think Diego Ardiles has taken really well, because while he has lost some of those mains in the Winter Series, he overall won the title because even if he was the fastest driver, even if someone caught you in the last 2 laps, he'd give the lead back. Not give the lead back, but if he gave the lead up, whether voluntarily or not, he was okay. He didn't throw the race away trying to, get back to that position. Now we're watching one of the other teammates here under the Rawls Performance Group camp. That's the number 792, Alan Bonilla. Yep. And for him, for Cole Medeiros, for even Victor De Alencar, had a breakout day yesterday. I mean, they've got the 2 fastest cars from all of Saturday, Turner Brown and Diego Ardiles' data. And I'm sure after a long night in the RPG camp, hopefully a lot of lessons for them have been learned, because they've all actually beaten most of those drivers here. Bonilla quicker than Ardiles. Cole Medeiros quicker than everyone under that 10. He's 3rd.
And we talked about this yesterday. It was an RPG versus Speed Concepts. Okay, Max Wyland for Magic Kart, fastest. Zanella Racing's Alexander Vonchev, 2nd. Edward Kennedy on the Energy Course Kart. Can the rest of the Junior X30 grid now up their game to match RPG and Speed Concepts?
And it's down to only 2 seconds now, the delta from wets to dry. Still in favor of wets, but there's more sessions to go. Masters as well as Mini Swift warm-ups when we return. You're watching Kart Chaser, powered by Acceleration Kart Racing's coverage of the SuperKarts USA Pro Tour Sunday morning here from Orlando.
Want to get behind the wheel, huh? Yeah, I've been shooting for 3 years and I've never got to drive.
Well, you're going to need some more gear than just your helmet. Why don't you go to shopakr.com. They got their inventory online, and they'll ship it the same day if you order before 5:30 p.m. Eastern.
They got shoes?
Yep.
Gloves?
Yep.
Rip protectors?
Got those too.
Can they make me go fast?
No.
Here at Acceleration Kart Racing, we've got everything you need to get on track. What happens next? Well, that's on you. Check us out online at shopakr.com.
Here at MPG Motorsports, our main goal is to provide the best pathway into professional motorsports for our entire team, drivers and mechanics alike. We're based out of Whiteland Raceway Park in Indiana. For more information, contact us at chase@mpg-motorsports.com.
Studies show that even the best current generation of simulators only convince 50% of the human brain that they are real. Here at Simcraft, that just isn't realistic enough. Developed to offer the most realistic karting sim experience in the world, all testing has shown that the physics engine used in Simcraft's Grid 1 model convinces 90% of the human brain that you are actually on track. Now that is the real deal.
Welcome back here to Orlando with the engines fired for KA100 Master and Master Shifter Warmup. Now these two classes, Interim SK Master and Factory Fury GP Kart Motor Shifter Master, did race together yesterday and unfortunately did get into some problems. However, they have asked the officials, and the officials have obliged to split them for their pre-final and for their final. They'll qualify and did warm together. They don't do too many laps, to be fair, so it's not the end of the world having these two drastically different speed-wise classes on track together for those sessions. But for the races, it was fun to watch for us. Not terribly fun for the drivers, I'd imagine, and a little bit of carnage, probably more than I think most would have expected for the veterans of Masters when driving around each other in different speed go-karts. But with a close-up shot there of our grid camera, you can see wet tires for the first two, or at least the first one of our shifters, and pretty much a mixed bag of slicks versus wets. Now, again, I don't believe any of these guys will be on the Avinco wet tires when we get to qualifying. So if you want to go ahead and bolt them on to go fast and warm up and get a better read, go for it. But if you want to put the slick tires on, I think that'll be the move by the time they get out on the racetrack for qualifying. You can already see in that final sector a few dry spots beginning to form, a little bit down the front straightaway as well. There's no real standing water at this point on the racing line, so you're going to be on slick tires when we get to qualifying, even probably to KA100 Junior for the first group, I think as well. With two more groups here, they'll probably be on slicks. So going out on wets, if you're one of these last two warm-up groups, Mini or K Master or Shifter Master, yeah, you might look good on the time charts. You might be great for social media or the broadcast right now for practice. But practice is exactly that, Henry. It's just practice. It does not matter at the end of the day. So to me, if I'm going out there, even if I'm going to be about a second or 2 seconds slower, I'm doing what Luis A. Quinones is doing. I'm going on slick tires. I'm not bolting on a new set of wets just to go make myself feel good.
Yeah, no, and that's Luis A. Quinones that we are looking at there. There are two Luis Quinoneses on the track now. He, of course, he's going out because he retired a mechanical issue for him yesterday on that factory kart chassis. No, I do apologize. No, it wasn't mechanical. It was there was a DQ at the end of it. I mean,
no, you were right. He wasn't mechanical. He may not have weighed or some
yes.
kind. He did have a mechanical, looked like shifter linkage on the opening couple laps. One guy that did have a good day running, though, was this guy, Juan Pablo Rico on the Sodi kart. And to be honest, he wasn't really on my radar through that pre-final, Henry, because we had all the Maranellos up front. Again, even Luis A. Quinones, I think, outran him. But Juan Pablo Rico really turned it up through the final. Granted, there was so much attrition, so many guys that went out for a matter of different issues, crashes, mechanicals like Quinones, incidents like for Michael Gouache, but even still, Juan Pablo Rico was right there in the mix with those guys. It wasn't 20 seconds back and they all went out in front of him. He was close.
It was 2 seconds. He finished 2 seconds behind the winner, Skitchy Barnes. There's Michael Gouache, hard luck driver yesterday. Crashed out of the lead going into turn number 1 in the pre-final and then got caught up in traffic, lapping one of the KA Masters and crashed out whilst battling for the lead in the final.
Yeah, and the Masters in KA that he did crash out with is the guy in the middle of your screen there, Michel Garrido, the first of the Alessandro's Racing Tony karts. He was one of the big proponents that helped coordinate the KA Masterclass to get all those drivers here this weekend. And for Michelle, winning at Homestead, Miami for the SKUSA Winter Series multiple times over, the local to Miami, Florida. He was, in the battle, in the hunt for the race win here in KA Master. And as Gouache was coming through, it was so odd. We didn't get the best view of us on the replay. To me, it looked like there was something else that sent Garrido around, but at the end of the day, he was spun in front. Gouache nowhere to go. Boom, big contact damage to both of them. Now, they're going to continue to warm up. We'll keep the ticker on this screen as well so you can see. Big swing of wet to dry tires. You can see Juan Pablo Rico on the wets. Obviously a lot quicker than the guys on the slicks. Most everybody else went out on slick tires to get a feel for what quality may look like. Alex, what do you have for us down on pit lane?
Thank you, guys. Here with Ty Fisher. Ty, we saw you out there on the slicks in the X30 class. You came up to me afterwards and said, listen, I think the track's drying up in time for some slicks for qualifying. Is that how you feel, and how are you feeling for qualifying?
I mean, I think it's going to be slicks, and it's going to be nice and grippy and fun for qualifying. It's going to come down to the driver being as good as they can.
Let's talk about yesterday, right? You're running double duty, KA and X30 Junior. It's a pretty quick turnaround, right? Sometimes you're coming off the KA cart, putting your stuff right into X30 and getting going again. I mean, how tough has that been for you?
I mean, it's been really tough and tiring. I've just been trying to get as much sleep as I can every night and wake up and I'm like, here comes another day. But you got to try and do what you can.
Yeah, and obviously your X30 race didn't go according to plan, came off early. KA was pretty good, though. You rolled off P1 in the pre-final, top 3 there in the final. I mean, describe your day yesterday to me and what you learned heading into today.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to try and do my best. I can't really control what happens with the motor and stuff, but I'm going to try my best and do the best that I can.
Thank you, Ty.
Thank you.
Ty Fisher there, encapsulating the feeling of quite a few drivers who are doing double duty in the semi-pro classes. The one thing that the semi-pro and the pro show format does, if you're doing double duty, of course, the pro drivers can't do double duty anymore. Pablo Rico, 2 seconds quicker than everybody else now on wet tires. That gap is coming down. But yeah, because the quicker turnaround, if you're doing the 2 junior classes, as a lot of drivers are, it's out of one into another, and you've got 2 warm-ups, 2 qualifyings, and then 2 pre-finals and 2 finals back to back. The heat yesterday was a major factor, which is one thing that isn't going to be so much of a factor today because it is a lot cooler.
Yeah, quite a bit cooler. We're about 10 degrees cooler than yesterday. Obviously a much cooler racetrack just from the water that's been on it. That has cooled it off a lot more. The sun still hasn't come out. We're only expected maybe get a couple hours of actually the sun really poking through the clouds right around noon to maybe 2 o'clock. So that's going to significantly lower the track surface temperature as well. Here's a look down on the grid for the Mini Swift warm-up session, and already quite a few drivers still sticking on the wet tires. Now, maybe they think that they'll be on the wets for Qualy, but Marco Samet, I like what the BJR MDR guys are going to do for him. Send him out on slicks.
Yep.
Dude, it doesn't matter if we go 30th or 50th or 25th in morning warm-up. Learn on that end, because Qualy, it's going to be dry enough for these guys for sure to be on the be on slick tires. It still may not be a fully dry racetrack, though. It may still have some damp spots, so they need to get comfortable being uncomfortable with slick tires on a low grip surface.
Exactly. Josh Bergman there in the 140 kart, the new signing for the Kart Republic Trinity Group team. He's on slick tires. The 144 kart on our screens there on wets. And again, the 144 kart, a driver like Grayson Walcott, the pole position driver, the 117 you're looking at there, they're not necessarily the front runners, less experience. The risk for them would be going out on slick tires and, binning it and damaging the chassis, so they've got a bit more time to learn.
And one more point I guess I could make to counter myself and be a bit of a devil's advocate. We saw Colton Schneegenberg on that GWR Tony kart, just 2 karts up from Rocco Simone, who's obviously going on slicks. The counterpoint I would say is if you're trying to get a better read on gearing, you're going to be a lot closer if the kart's going faster. So if you're looking for more of setup of where the gear needs to probably be, because it probably won't be exactly on the dry gear, you'll probably want to be 1 to 2 to 3 teeth more to counter the different level of grip and going a little bit slower. So if you take the gear with the wet tires here in warm-up because of how fast they'll be on the wets, and then we go to the slick tires for qualifying, you're probably going to have a little bit of a better idea of where you're going to be in the rev range. So that would be the only counterpoint I could make is maybe a bit more of a setup idea. But, again, some of it, definitely a safety thing, definitely just, making sure that your driver's comfortable. And these kids, here 9 to 12 years old in Mini Swift, so much of it is about confidence. And, if a driver goes out and they're getting past the entire session, especially a newer, less experienced driver, that could be a big blow to their confidence, and their head may not be able to be, kind of righted by later in the day. How about this young man over here? Wow, what a day for Lorenzo Varela. Alessandro Truscio is becoming an international superstar without question, but this kid right up there with him and battling for the win all the way to the checkered flag. He was the only driver that went lap for lap, blow for blow, went 10 rounds with that Alessandro Truscio and came out on top yesterday. A very impressive performance for the Sodi Racing USA Brazilian.
And, of course, the podium yesterday, only 0.08 of a second separating the top 3 drivers. They crossed the line in a blanket finish. Varela, Royce Vega, the Winter Series champion, and Alessandro Truscio. And we've got our first griddy of the day on the left-hand side of
Not
your
the Grizzy?
screen. The Grizzy. The griddy that is on the dummy grid. It is the griddy. There he is, and that is one of the... Now, let's have, is that a Velocity Racing Praga T-shirt?
I'm just happy you got the name right on the dance this time, Henry.
Oh, yeah, the Grizzy, the griddy, but it's on the grid, It's, yeah, something like that. Anyway, I'm trying to stay down with the kids, Andy. You know this. I
can tell you right now,
I'm not a dinosaur just yet.
I don't think any of the kids say down with the kids anymore or down with it anymore. So you're already behind even trying to stay ahead. Here's a look at the Bennick boys. They're waiting a little bit. Now there's Juan saying go ahead and on go. Royce Vega, talk about a surprise and a big steal at the end of the line yesterday. He got up to second in the finish in the run to the checkers with Truscio trying an over-under and Vega following Varela on through. So that's a big point swing. You're talking about 15 markers in that main event from second to third. That's huge for Royce Vega in the championship, and the same for a kid like Ashton Woon, who goes a little wide there on the slick tires to not give up and drive through the grid into the top 10 in that main event. That was impressive as we got problems for one of the Rollison Performance Group Cosmics. That is the 157.
Yago Lempen, the Peruvian driver.
And he had issues in yesterday's main as well.
He did. Now, we looked at Ashton Woon very briefly there. You want to talk about the commitment that a lot of these families show to national level kart racing. Well, Ashton Woon, there he is in the number 195 kart. Based out in California, family moved to North Carolina, predominantly to be closer to the central hub of racing. Ryan's got a sister who does dance. The family are, now basing their entire lives around racing because that's the passion and that's the goal. So, level of commitment at this level, even in Mini Swift, for example, is extremely high indeed.
Yeah, and that's, obviously something that even at their age, many of those kids are very understanding of the level of commitment that most of these families take, because Ashton Woon is far from the only driver to have his entire family supporting him, relocating to a complete new area of the country that's solely to live nearby, where it gives him a better shot at potentially creating a path in motorsports down the line in a professional career of some kind. With 3 minutes and 20 seconds still left on the clock and counting down, we go back one to the 156 pole position motorsports parallel of Drew Jensen. And Drew trailing Ashton Woon yesterday. For Drew, not too much on camera time as we got problems for the back. One of the U-Race cars has nosed into the outside retaining wall at turn 10. Katowski
Nico Katowski.
Such a good first half of the final. Needed that
Yep.
checkered flag when the halfway came because unfortunately bad luck struck after that, Henry.
Yeah, eventually finishing down in 28th position. But, you know, you're always looking at the start of every year, especially in the micro and the mini classes. There are going to be breakout drivers who we hadn't talked about much the previous year. Suddenly they turn up and they outperform their expectations. Nico Katowski and the U-Race team, one of those. Now, here's a significant shot on our screen now. The third car in line, that is the Brandon Jars of Crack Mike Doty Racing Lando Norris chassis of Marco Samut. He is on slick tyres and he is 10th at the moment. But look at the way he is driving and passing now karts at certain parts of the circuit. You've got Josh Bergman in front of him, also on slick tyres. Then the number 117 kart, that's Schniegenberg, he's on wet tyres. So look at the difference now in speed. Schniegenberg moving around the circuit to find the remaining puddles to try and cool those tyres. Varela on wet tyres as well. They've both been overtaken by drivers on slicks, and the two drivers on slicks are now pulling away from them, even though they're on wet. So Varela just saying hi to us there, waving, and we're going to see a change. So Bergman and Samut on slick tyres are now 5th and 9th. We're getting to that stage, and that the switch flips.
Yeah, we're getting right down to it, Henry, where the changeover happens. And again, we were expecting that. I believe that's what we were going to see when KA Juniors were going on the racetrack, that they would be over and on to the slick tires. So I'm not surprised at all that I think that's what's going to be headed our way here shortly. So KA Junior drivers looking on. Maybe a few in the slow group might try and still run the gamble on the wet tires, but I would imagine with the extra weight to build grip and heat into the tires, that if the minis are faster on slicks, the full-size cars will be as well.
Yeah, I think that obviously the heavier the car, the wider the rear track. It's the drivers on wet tyres are losing out. Under power coming out of corners, and the bigger and heavier the car is, there's less traction, the slower it's going to be compared to the karts on the correct tyre. So we're just sitting here in a nice dry commentary box. Maybe Alex and Caleb down on pit lane, they are in a better position to, number one, tell us and show us exactly what is going on, because that would be the end of warm-up, Xander Clements, and the next session is going to be qualifying for the KA100 Juniors. And yes, there's a late scramble to make sure that everybody is on, or nearly everybody is on, slick tyres. So yeah, they've all realised that no, slick's the way to go. And you can see Alex and Caleb down there, and at some point in the midst of all that, we'll try and get down to them to get the exact what's going on the spot, and a couple of last second updates.
Yeah, that definitely looks like everyone that's changing tires is going to the slicks. So the wet tires, probably not the call. Now, granted, most of the juniors are already down on the grid. That's the fast group you're seeing up on the scale, or up on the kart stands. Alex, go ahead and take it away for us.
Thank you, Xander. Yeah, as we saw on screen there, a lot of karts showed up on rain tires, actually, even after what we saw in warm-up. After the intel they got from X30 Junior, they saw the Masters guys and the Minis guys go out there. They looked at the timesheets. They said, no, the slicks are the way to go. We saw a bunch of last-minute changes. Alexander Vanchev being one of them. He was one of the drivers that was involved in that big wreck in the pre-final yesterday. Didn't even race the final on a brand-new chassis today. Going to be a challenge for him to try to refine that setup. Obviously, a brand new racetrack now with rubber being formed again. So this is going to be a very interesting qualifying session. The track is going to continuously ramp up throughout the day here. And yeah, I expect this to be a very exciting qualifying session. The track is still a little bit damp in places, so it's going to be a challenge for these drivers to get heat in the tires, especially with brand new slicks. So yeah, Xander and Henry, this is going to be incredible to watch here for these KA100 juniors.
Okay, thank you, Alex. And yeah, there's in the yellow race suit. There's Ty Fisher talking to the Alexander Vanchev in the yellow race suit. So yeah, let's try and talk to Alex about the tyre situation and about the new frame and how he plans to refocus and go for it.
Thank you, Henry. Vanchev, we were just talking about you. You were involved in that big wreck yesterday. Didn't race the final. Had to pretty much get a brand new chassis here. How are you feeling after yesterday and heading into today?
Well, it's definitely a disadvantage that I'm going to be on the newer chassis, but normally I'm good in the rain, so I hope that works out.
Yeah, give us a little bit of intel about the racetrack route, because we're not on the track. You guys are. Give us your idea behind showing up on the rain tires and then switching to slicks last minute.
So I'm running 2 classes, and when I was in X30, I was on the rain tires, and they seemed a lot faster. But then I was looking at the mini times, and after just a couple of laps, the slick tires were basically on the pace with the rains, and I think that they're going to be the same for us.
Thank you, Alex.
You're welcome. Thank you.
There's your answer, Henry. Everybody was waiting on that crossover point, just like you. And the moment that they it finally hit in Mini Swift was the turning point, and that was the last-minute dance that everyone had to do a quick pit stop and switch out from wets to dries. Now, there's barely any time again for them to, make any other setup changes or even change gears. So hopefully they got the gearing right. But we'll really see. Obviously, there's a look at Chico Brown's kart there, the 836 Rollison Performance Group Cosmic. He's fully set and ready with slick tires, and they're not busy at all. I think they were keeping an eye on the trend, and for some of the teams, if they were paying maybe not the closest attention, they were waiting on the changeover. But for us, with the bird's eye view watching every single session, we knew it was coming, Henry, and we could kind of see that trend session by session from 8 seconds off or 8 seconds off for KA Junior down to 2 seconds off in the Masters classes. It was going to hit, and it was just a matter of time. So, I'd imagine some of the teams that are a little bit bigger in scale and can have a guy kind of up on, a spotter up on the trailer saying, all right, yeah, this is the prediction of when it will change over versus waiting for it to actually happen. Because RPG could have been proactive and said, all right, based on our calculations, based on the trend we're seeing right now, we will be dry with 30 minutes to go here in the warm-ups, and let's go ahead and put the new tires slicks on, whereas some of the other guys may have just been doing them right now, and that's the holdup here on the grid.
Yeah, and also you could see, you saw as we were looking at Peyton Westcott's Rollison Performance Group kart, standing just behind it, just behind the kart, was Marin Kremers, who is obviously one of the pro drivers, reigning champion. And because the pro drivers aren't out, you can see just the back of the screen there in the yellow helm and the yellow long hair. That's Justin White for the Maranello team. The pro drivers now get more of a chance to coach and mentor and be around and advise the semi-pro drivers, because they know they're not out for 5 hours. So they can do their other job, the way that a lot of them earn a living, by being driver coaches, being there on the scene and helping the youngsters, learn and give advice they wouldn't normally be able to do because they'd be focusing on their own racing at this point.
Yeah, that's a huge thing. It also helps with a value add for the race team of justifying the cost of maybe partially sponsoring some of these drivers. Some of them are backed specifically by a chassis manufacturer through the team to put a brand up front, like PSL Karting, the official importer of Beryl Art, puts a lot of investment in trying to get fast drivers with the Red Army up front. But other independent teams, it's solely reliant on the value they can bring and not so much about pushing product, but maybe the service of the team and having the driver coach is huge.
Now, I think Alex Searle, speaking of the devil, as karts roll out, there are a couple on wet tyres. We'll bring you up to speed there, but Alex Searle is with Marin Kremers right now.
Thanks, guys. Down on the grid here with Marian Kremers. Marian, you're not out on track until later today because of the pro show, but you're coaching a lot of your junior kids here in the morning up until the afternoon. You love the wet weather. Obviously, the track constantly changing. It slicks right now. What did you tell your drivers going out there for qualifying?
The main thing right now for them is just to get some heat into the tires, avoid the wet spots, and then that last lap, that's going to be your fast lap. So don't worry in the beginning. Make sure you get good track position, and the main thing is just get heat into the tires and be ready for that last lap.
Thank you, Marian.
No problem.
There you go from Rollison Performance Group's one of two in the 1-2 punch for pro shifter Marin Kremers, who will start on the outside of the front row for that pro shifter main later today. But like Alex said, one of the absolute bests in the wet conditions and the intermediate conditions they're on now. Like you said, that last lap will be the money lap. It's about just positioning yourself over these first few laps. Yes, you do want to go out and push. Don't get me wrong, Henry. You want to feel the limits here on lap 1, lap 2, lap 3. But do not put yourself in a compromising spot where on your last lap you might catch some traffic or be caught by a faster driver, because that is going to be a probably half-second improvement from the lap prior.
Yeah, indeed. And, of course, so this is the slow group that was compiled based on the final results of Happy Hour on Friday. Did see Tiziano Rosso Orcel, the driver now based out of the Bahamas, on wet tires.
That is the only one. Just got word from our partners down on the grid as well. One of our spotters, he is the only one on wets.
Yeah, and you know what? We don't have a track in the Bahamas, a country that I work in a lot, and but even if we did have a track, it doesn't rain that often, and so you can imagine that, yeah, maybe Tiziano, a driver that has no experience of going out on slick tyres on a damp track. Again, he's learning. He's with the Orlando Kart Center team based here in Daniel Caligaris. Think, okay, let's just not write a chassis off. Let us just go out there and focus and learn.
Yeah, just at least, get through the session, right? Even if you burn the wets, that's okay. $250 for an extra set of tires is much better than a $2,500 crash damage bill for totaling a frame, or $5,000 for a brand new go-kart. Now, with the first laps underway, Arrive Kapadia Basu, the Rollison Performance Group driver, quickest initially. Travis Pettit, second quickest. We were having our eyes on him. There is, I believe, the 835. Is that Luke Tall?
That's Luke Tall.
Indeed, on the Soda USA machine. He's 14th on the outlap. Decent spot. He's got a little bit of clear position, but a few rabbits in front of him to try and hunt on down. So for Luke, well, that was good enough for the second lap. Top of the board, 58.787 for Luke Tall.
And yesterday, Luke Tall, 25th overall in qualifying. He's got Harley Keeble's dad, Dean Keeble, mechanicking for him. Very experienced mechanic. He's from the Netherlands. His dad is here. His mum is back in the Netherlands. Again, families, not traveling together. So other kids who can't all do it. So, Luke Tall, that's his sort of story. Watch out for him as the day progresses. Still Kapadia Basu in the number 816 kart, who in fact is just in front of there is Kapadia Basu, in front of Luke Tall. Again, another driver. I think he's got a younger brother racing in Mini. There's the 804 kart on our screens now. That would be Cash Felber, one of a pair of twins, Cash and Roman Felber. And as two of Cash's teammates, Diego Ardiles and Turner Brown, who will be going out. Now, they're watching the track. They're watching their teammates, but they are watching and looking at each different corner that they can see from that vantage point and trying to discuss with each other, where they can see a dry line emerging and where things are still a little bit damp.
Yeah, they're getting a really, really good view of it here from the first one out. Travis Pettit's just in the worst spot, unfortunately. Well, it's good because he's clear on the racetrack. It's bad just because he does not have a lot of room for error or anyone to judge off of, I should say. So he's at least doing good enough to go third in the group. The bad news is with the drying racetrack, they all pretty much know it's going to be very hard for them to go better than anyone else in the second group. This slow group, this first group out, this is the price you pay, unfortunately, for just not making the cut line. And Travis Pettit, first man below the cut line in Friday Happy Hour.
Yep.
It'll basically lock him into what we would imagine to be about 25th.
Yeah, exactly. 49 drivers in this class. There's going to be 25 going out in this in the next session. There are 24 karts on circuit. So unless anybody in the first session has a problem, doesn't go out, doesn't complete a flying lap, this is effectively the fight for 26th on the grid for the pre-final. And unsurprisingly, Tiziano Rosso Morcel, the only driver on wet tyres, is slowest.
Luke Tall into the side of the 816, was trying to make the pass, and that was Ariv Kapadia Basu,
Yeah.
and the two of them, this was their final lap, I believe. I think the checkers are coming out this time by, and they are. So here come the new times, the last lap for everyone else. Remy Andrato's going to go to the top at a 57.66. Tall cannot improve. He'll get bumped to third now. Martin Jaramillo, top of the boards in the 882. Luis Sedeno moves to fourth. Travis Pettit, fifth here at the end of this group. Frederick Manning, Wyatt Downing, still waiting on the back few to go through if any changes happen there. Dean Peterson, he'll jump up to 12th at a 58.169 for Dean Peterson. But Martin Jaramillo, thanks in part to Luke Tall getting into an incident on his final lap, and just an overall good lap for the U-Race Tony Kart driver. Martin Jaramillo sets the benchmark at a 57.4.
Before we move on to this session now on the circuit, quick mention of Martin Jaramillo yesterday. He was 14th in qualifying overall, led this group as well yesterday for the ever-improving U-Race team. Then, 3 corners into the pre-final, was one of the victims of that major pileup, wrote his go-kart off, had to withdraw for the rest of the day.
Yeah, unfortunate indeed to end it off. But the good part is, for semi-pro classes, you get another reset. You get a full new day. Wake up Sunday. It's a new day. The sun rises again, and you get to start all over. The bad news, if you had a good day, is it doesn't matter too much. It matters in the championship, but if you're just trying to make the weekend good, well, Sunday can still be a bad day no matter how good you do on Saturday. Now, look at this here. Nobody passing Diego Ardiles, but they are staying nice and close to him, and again, this is a bit more of a surprise to me that they all want to stay this tight together. Now he's like, all right, I'm going to pull over and let you guys go, but nobody wants to lead. Typically, we see this because, we got problems on the grid. Kai Mars trying to get fired up in the 893 TKG Kart Republic. They've got him fired for a moment, and it's stalled back out again. So trying to clear out that carburetor, but normally these kids will wait on each other to try and get a slipstream. Right now, it's to try and use someone else as a marker and a braking zone to see where the limit is so I can go a little deeper.
Yes, indeed. Now, as one of the Trinity Kart group sits on pit lane, here's one of their teammates, one of the other members of the TKG outfit, yesterday's winner, Enzo Vidmontien. And Vidmontien there, again, we talked about Enzo, redemption, a really good thing. So now, can he complete an entire weekend on top of the podium? Again, this is the biggest class out there. There's the number 896 on your screen, Jackson Walney. We'll expect Jackson once again to be very, very strong as always. As we're having a look, but nobody wants nobody wants clean air now, because clean air means no marker in terms of where the limits are changing, and the limits will be changing lap after lap after lap.
Yeah, and lap after lap. We're going to see a big change from this lap to the next, probably the biggest that you'll see of any of the quali groups as the track gets quicker. I mean, it'll be almost fully dry by the time the minis hit the racetrack. Right now, though, the first lap for everyone, kind of getting that initial coating layer off of these Avinco tires is not going to be too good. So your fastest guy is still outside the top 20. It was actually Enzo in 22nd at a 59.91. So second and a half to catch our provisional pole sitter, Martin Jaramillo. We know we're going to get there, just a matter of when. Cross the line here for lap 2, Vidmontien. Where does he go on the second lap? It will put him not too much higher, actually, for Enzo. On Vidmontien on that second lap, goes to 14th, picks up a few more. That still puts him best of this faster group. Vidmontien to 14th. And we're looking further back for Jackson Wolney and the likes of the rest of that group. Well, Wolney kind of got traffic on it, so his lap not good yet. So we're still waiting. Waiting on a lot of them to crack the top 10.
You're looking at Wolney now, because he finished second yesterday. Behind him, one of the Orsolon racing car, just passing Salvador de la Vecchia, the Venezuelan driver, de la Vecchia, who finished yesterday in 6th position for the Chad Dockin racing team. We'll try and pick up that number of it's the Orsolon Racing, it's the 850 kart, Sebastian Garzon. Wow, we'll talk about Garzon. Came into this weekend having come second in the Winter Series and taken the fight with Ardiles right down to the wire. And then when it came time to go yesterday, only 14th. He was caught up in a pile-up in the pre-final, gained 22 places, but still not. Yeah, but it's still not quite, there in terms of pace. So Vidmontien, there he is. He is still not cracked the top 10 yet because he's the hare. He's the hare, and all the dogs are chasing him as he comes out of turn number 10. Now Enzo Vidmontien goes to the top of the chart. So Vidmontien picking up where he left off yesterday. We have got not long to go in this qualifying session at all. They complete another lap, and now Diego Ardiles. There's Ardiles. He goes quickest, and look where he is. He's directly behind Vidmontien. So as the track conditions change, Ardiles has a second or two to react to where Enzo Vidmontien's braking zones are.
Yeah, just a little bit, and that could be the difference here for him. Right now, it's not paying off too much, just a little. Couple tenths that last lap. This lap, is it going to be even more? Will it be enough even to go for the guys that can use Ardiles as the braking marker? Because Jackson Wolney, he's the next in line, so Wolney might even be able to go better than Ardiles can if he puts this last lap together. But Enzo, with no one in front, the run to the line right here. Can Vidmontien back up his win from yesterday with a pole in the challenging conditions? Here he comes to the checkered flag. We'll see the rest of them populate. Vidmontien, 56.6. Ardiles a 5. Wolney goes second with a 5.5. Still not enough to get to the 8.97. And the rest cycle through, turn around to the top 5. Sebastian Garzone into 4th. Malkia into 6th. Ty Fisher 7th. But Diego Ardiles using Enzo Vidmontien as his marker here, just going a little bit deeper, rolling a little more speed, able to pick the pole and pick his pocket, really, for that top spot. Vidmontien will line up behind him, though. Still a very respectable third at the end of the session.
And all the big guns from yesterday are there in the top 5. Ardiles, Wolney, Vidmontien, Garzon, and Brown.
We'll take another moment here during the qualifying session to step away. We will return with the remaining 5 groups for qualifying for the free coverage this morning of the SKUSA Pro Tour Winter Nationals here from Orlando. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for an advantage in your competition? Well, Kart Class has done the hard work for you. We've travelled to your racetracks to give you the inside knowledge. So what does Kart Class offer? We've got drone footage that captures the racing lines, visual markers for your braking points, acceleration zones, and the best overtake opportunities on your racetrack. Pedal cam to show you where to brake and when to accelerate, and 360-degree footage to make sure you don't miss any parts on the racetrack. We've covered 13 racetracks in the United States, and Australia, you're up next. So visit kartclass.com to get your track information.
Are you ready to get behind the wheel? From Formula One to NASCAR and IndyCar, all the pros start here. For more information, check us out online at mcckarting.com or call us and go racing today.
You need it? We got it. At Kart Eat Parts, we are your complete online aftermarket kart part superstore. From chains to bearings to bumpers and components, we've got it in stock and ready to ship straight to your door from our base in Ontario, Canada. Check us out online at karteparts.ca.
here's a look through post-qualifying scrutineering for KA100 Junior. Checking the engine seals, also with the exhaust restrictor for the KA100 Junior class, so making sure that seal has not been tampered with as well. Of course, the top qualifiers have to go through a little bit of a tighter check through. They're also checking to make sure they're on the correct tire set. Rolling through the KA Junior scales, the short delay before they roll KA Senior is just because there is only the one scale. Typically, at a lot of racetracks with a grid of this size, we'll run 2 independent scales at the same time to get the field through. Here at Orlando, there is only the one master scale, and we were a little bit perplexed as to what was the other holdup yesterday of what delayed us besides the obvious red flag for the scary crash with Mario Barrios. And now seeing it and talking with race control, it is the single scale here at the racetrack that is the sort of backlog. And, of course, the first class is the biggest one, the 50-driver KA Junior field.
Yeah, and of course, you look at the picture there. Where would they put a second scale? They'd have to move some of the rental carts to put a second scale in, and that obviously is it couldn't happen. But yeah, no, it's still. The SKUSA officials, Orlando Kart Center, they're working really hard to make sure that everything runs as smoothly as possible. It's a learning process for us all, is the pro show, and the way that things are working. But we'll move ahead now. So KA100 Senior, well, I think it's safe to say that Tiziano Rosso-Orcel will be the last driver that we see on wet tires. It slicks from here on in.
And, finally, it feels like we're getting a little bit of yellow, a little bit of sunshine starting to poke through the clouds here on this overcast morning in Orlando, Florida, to give us a nice little look, hopefully a little more heat on the racetrack. Maybe not too hot. Yesterday was a bit warm, even for all the Northerners coming over to Orlando to get out of the winter. But still, today, hopefully highs of 75, perfect weather, and a little bit of sunshine might just help finish that drying process and get us to a fully dry racetrack by the time pre-finals roll around.
I gotta say though, the nicer, lower temperatures, it's still going to be warm, but it's not going to be warm.
Not everything can be 40 degrees and wet and rainy like your hometown back over across the pond, Henry.
No, but what I'm saying is that the change in temperature is actually going to help the engines.
Yes.
Those engines are going to breathe just that little bit clearer, so when the track dries out, it's going to be a very, very fast track indeed.
Yes, it will be very, very quick. The engines obviously run a little bit worse with the higher temperature, especially the air-cooled motors like the 100cc KA100s and the 60cc Mini Swift power plants as well. Now, while we wait for KA100 Senior to roll through, there's another close look at the tech area. So, yeah, it's Kyle Mars' cart getting the check on the seal, and they're scanning that seal as well because each of these seals have a barcode on them. So what you're seeing with the tech procedures to make sure they didn't try to put another seal on, put a replacement seal or a fake seal, they're checking that barcode to make sure that scans the same, obviously as well keeping a close eye on if that seal got tampered with. Now, since we still have a moment, well, we've been able to catch up with our fast qualifier, Diego Ardiles, on pole for K100 Junior. Alex?
Thank you, Xander. Diego, great day yesterday, top 5 in K, a win in X30. You followed up with a pole position today. How did that lap feel?
It felt very good.
Now tell me, on pole for K yesterday, really, really quick. I mean, the racing was obviously really aggressive there. Wasn't the final you would have wanted. What can you do to turn that around and get that win today in KA?
Yeah, today I learned from my mistake yesterday in qualifying, and I hope I learned from my mistakes yesterday on the race to do it perfect today.
And tell me about the conditions on the racetrack. You guys were the first ones to really attack it at full beams there in qualifying with slicks. So, how was it out there?
Yeah, the track is for sure less greasy than yesterday, but I think it's fast.
Thank you, Diego.
Thank you.
There you have it from Diego Ardiles, our top qualifier in KA100 Junior. The track's getting there. It's not as fast as yesterday afternoon, but it will be pretty soon. If anything, it might even be a little bit quicker with the cooler temps, as Henry mentioned. The engines will run a little better. Tires won't overheat. You know, we could. Well, up to a super slidey and greasy everywhere on all that rubber that gets laid down. But when the rubber is cool and, 60, 70 degree air temps, really the first session in the morning before they start driving the track surface temperature up by driving on it, that's our fastest session. Typically, this session, this group that we were running through before qualifying, the Sunday morning warm-up, if the track is dry, is our fastest session on the weekend. Not qualifying on either day with new tires, but that morning warm-up session.
Yes, and now looking at the 40 kart entry in K100 Senior. There's one driver. That's an unusual sort of way to loosen up. But again, that's just at the end of the day, a lot of the dads, the mechanics as well, even the drivers with the big teams, they still have their parents mechanicking for them, and a little bit of last-minute encouragement. We'll be obviously only running 39 karts on the grid without Mario Barrios. Still an awful lot of karts. They're still split into two groups. The first kart you're looking at on your screen now, that's Jean Reyes, the LFB racing driver, the Coastal Inc. sponsored Tony Kart chassis, driver from Orlando, Florida. He, to earn money to go racing, he works here at the Orlando Kart Center. He was our grid marshal at SKUSA Winter Series at Homestead. But Jackson Walney is down speaking to one of our pit reporters, Alex Earl, down in pit lane.
Thank you, Henry. Jackson Walney. Jackson, P2 in qualifying KA. Yesterday, you were just as quick. Unfortunately, got walled in the pre-final and had an incredible drive through the field, making up over 30 spots throughout the day. Where is your head at going into the pre-final later this afternoon?
I think I have a lot of pace. Our race pace is better than our quali, I think. But I think I'm confident I can hang with anyone. So I think we're good.
And what can we expect with the track evolution, right? Because it rained overnight. It was pretty wet in the warm-ups. Now it seems dry enough for slicks, obviously. So now what can we expect, do you think, from a driver's perspective on the track evolution throughout the day?
Honestly, even in that quali session, the track was almost as good as it was yesterday. Like, it was pretty spot on. I think it'll be almost perfect for the pre-final, so I don't think we have anything to worry about.
Thank you, Jackson.
All good.
Well, good to hear from Jackson Walney. Just on cue, the groups are fired. Group 1, the slow group in KA 100 Senior. You can see Carter Thompson there in the number 960 kart. What a day for Carter Thompson. He was fastest in this group yesterday, actually qualified up near the top 15, I believe, then was caught up in that big crash, went all the way back to the back of the grid for the final, and eventually then in the very, very dramatic final, which included, the save from James Overbeck and an incredibly chaotic last lap here with a couple of incidents at the turn 7, 8 and 9 area of the track. It's used by HM Propeller and it's used by the Trinity Kart Group. The way to tell the teams differently is the Trinity Kart Group, they've all got the green stripe on the kart. We had Sean Bailiff on Grid Talk to say, well, he was losing track of where his drivers were, so he put a green stripe on his karts so he knew which ones were there. Chad Dalkin Racing, they've got on the side pods of the kart, they've got a big CDR sticker. So that's how to tell some of the kart republics apart. Now, drivers still warming their tyres. Landon Cardwell, we just saw coming to our screen, there he is in the Lando Norris race suit. Landon Cardwell, he was involved in an incident with Stephen Isert in the first lap of the first final. I say the first final because half a lap later, you had the Mario Barros, there was a red flag, and, Landon was able to take the restart. But watching with keen eyes there, a driver who, Cameron Weinberg, drove through the entire field to finish on the podium.
And Cameron was joking at the podiums when we were quickly getting ready to go back into the pro show. Like, dude, I came from last. You're telling me you can't give me the extra cash of the win? I should be getting $1,000. I said, well, dude, put it on the top step today and it's yours. Yeah. He still got 500 for ending up second with a massive turnout here for KA100 Senior. But as they head down to turn number 10 here in qualifying, just getting this one rolling for the first of the two groups. Quentin and Jelly is the quickest initially, 58.708 to Patricio Gonzalez, then Aiden Shimbashi, Carter Thompson, Dominic Karai. The top five, let's see what lap 2 looks like. Gene Reyes, first one to the line, 57.7. Landon Cardwell better, Thompson better, and Jelly better again, 57.174 for Quentin and Jelly. So quickest time, 2 laps in a row for the Rocket Racing Company Gillard, number 984. A little bit further back on the lineup for Quentin and Jelly than his first group, but it's not hurting him at all. He's quickest here over Aiden Shimbashi.
Yeah, now there's a look at the number 984, the Rocket Racing Company. Now, Xander Clemens, this would be the same Rocket Kart Company that is involved with Newcastle?
No, this is the Rocket Racing Company. This is the remains of ANSA Motorsports.
Right,
Of course, first and foremost, a rest in peace very well to Patrick Otto Madsen, who we tragically lost at the end of 2023. A big mentor to Danny Formal and the captain of the ANSA Motorsports crew. Well, Rocket Racing Company is the karting spin-off arm that carries on the legacy of what was the ANSA Motorsports karting division. So that is that newer group. That's got Quentin and Jelly in the 984. It has the likes of Luke Welcome and others. It's a Miami, Florida-based race team, typically using the Formula K race chassis, but they also have OTK products, as you can see with Jelly underneath.
Okay, yes. Also, Ethan Sky Manjencic is part of that team. So a brief look there at Peyton Phillips on the insert there. He'll be going out later on. Peyton Phillips and his mechanic, the 2000 World Karting Champion Colin Brown. Peyton Phillips, well, spoke to Colin earlier. We'll talk a little bit later, but Peyton Phillips, he went for a move to try and get on the podium after being in a position to win the race at the final corner. It didn't work out, and incidents happened afterwards, but Colin said, do you know what? At least I know the kid's got, well, guts is the correct term that we can use in a family show.
Well, like we said in the main event yesterday, that with all of the pro interlopers restricted from running the class, that's the change. Is now that it is kind of who is going to run the prison yard when the last few inmates finally got out. Now, we are down to the final few moments here. Quentin and Jelly was quickest early. Rodrigo Gonzalez in the 999 machine went quickest there on the Super Tune Tony kart at a 56.60. But back to the front for Gene Reyes coming down the back straightaway. He'll be the first one across the line to hit the checkered flag. Reyes sits in 6th. They've all picked up about 3 to 4 tenths a lap, if not more. This final lap, from what we heard from former world champion Maureen Kremers, is the money lap. Here comes Gene around the final turn, Henry.
Watched by yesterday's race winner, Finnegan Bailiff. Here we come to the line. Reyes goes not into the top 5. Angeli goes quick, and now Shimbashi crosses the line. Aiden Shimbashi at 56.212. Angeli second. Gonzalez, Rodrigo Gonzalez, and Patricio Gonzalez, the top 4. Carter Thompson 5th. Next couple of drivers coming across the line, and side by side there. That's not going to help one bit, and so no change there as it is Quentin Angeli. Our ticker there on the side of the screen is not just quite caught up yet with live timing, and as the slower group there, it was Shimbashi and James a bit behind the 8 ball, but win go down. Why is that Super Tune kart going very slowly? One of the potential race winners, hand in the air, a problem for Fernando Luque in kart number 975. He's a potential race winner, and he is not going to set a time. Can he get that kart fired up? He's been trying to adjust something. Does he come into the pits? Now, what is he looking at? What is he trying? If he comes into the pits, that's qualifying over, and one of our potential winners, he's going to carry on to try and find a way. One of our potential race winners in trouble.
Yeah, I think with Fernando Luque, the issue right now could potentially be something in the carburetor. You could have a blown reed. You could saw him, what his hand was down there would look to be working the needles. It wasn't a broken throttle cable of any kind, but he was working the needles to try and get something out of it. Now, as we go back up to the front, Vinny Maskelis back to Colin Lloyd. Maskelis was getting closer to the top group at the end of yesterday's main. Yeah, on his first lap, he went to 26, basically the entire first group. Still quicker. That's to be expected as the tires build heat here in the opening couple laps and the drivers start to feel the limits. You heard from Jackson Wolney from KA Junior. He said the track's almost there. I'd say it's about there now looking at KA Senior. And this is a big group here. There's Blake Nash. He's hoping to get himself in somewhere out of a danger zone from yesterday. He had a wild ride off the start of the pre-final, had to go from the rear, so we didn't get to see him too much. But the 964 former Pro X30 competitor, let's see what he can do here this morning as he's looking to go by Colin Lloyd in turn 1 and position himself a little better for the final couple laps.
Interesting that a lot of the main contenders from yesterday have chosen to sort of stick very close to one another. You can see Peyton Phillips in car number 958 for Ryan Perry Motorsport really sticking with Blake Nash. There's obviously been a communication, right? Colin Brown saying to Peyton Phillips, okay, I want you to follow this driver. Let's get a slipstream off him for the first couple of laps. Colin Lloyd also in that group. So you can see it, they're all chasing car 981 Vinny Maskelis. Maskelis is acting as the guinea pig here for all these group of drivers that are following him. However, I mean, without being unkind to Maskelis, his pace wasn't quite as fast, a tenth or two slower than those pursuing him. And if they're not careful, the pursuers are going to sort of get held up a little bit. They're very close right now as we move into the final few minutes of this quick qualifying session. Haven't got the times on my screen in front of me, but that's not going to help. So Blake Nash having to pass Vinny Maskelis, and Maskelis, well, he'll get a bit of a slipstream now. This is good for Blake Nash. It's bad for Peyton Phillips, who also makes the move. So they're coming, I'm not sure if they're coming to the checkered flag just yet. Stephen Miller has gone quickest. Second is Overbeck. Aiden Shimbashi is still third fastest. The checkered flag is out. Here we go. Can Shimbashi hold on to third? Here come the big guns to the line. Let's see. No checkered flag.
No checkered flag. They've got another lap in here because that was only lap 4. They're still that was the end of lap 4, Henry. We've still got 5 laps for all these ones.
I'm looking at the timing screen there, which says checkered flag at the top.
Yeah, checkered did show. But it looks like they're giving them all 5. So let's see. They're still going. The checker didn't wave when they crossed the line.
You erased the checker flag. My apologies.
And sometimes what they'll do is they'll give a little bit of leeway to the group because they have to go out in a certain order. If the timer falls right in the middle, they're not just going to burn the lap for the guys further back if they didn't purposely wait up. But Blake Nash obviously worked his way to the front of this group for a reason. He feels like everyone else might hold him up on this final lap, but now is he in a compromised spot? Is Peyton Phillips or Weinberg or Lloyd in a better position? Weinberg didn't get a good exit out of the back corner, so I don't think he's in the best of positions. But as they come to the line here this time, here comes Blake Nash. Final time. Got to pull something. He's 9th at the checkers. Goes 8th, goes worse. Lloyd to the top of the boards. 56 flat for Colin Lloyd. Miller, not enough. Ferris, not enough. 2,000 shine. There it is for Stephen Miller, a late lap, Stephen Miller, he does do it by 3 thousandths of a second over Colin Lloyd, 2 thousandths of a second back to Connor Ferris, by far the closest qualifying session we've seen so far, Henry.
Absolutely. James Overbeck 4th, Peyton Phillips 5th, and the slow group leader, Aiden Shimbashi, 6th overall, 7th. For the independent, Eli Warren proving that yesterday was no fluke. And then Cameron Weinberg, well, he doesn't have to pass 30 karts to get his hands on the money. He's only going to have to pass, in the pre-final at least 7. Kane Martin and then Nash rounding out your top 10.
So that completes it here for KA100 Senior. Stephen Miller, the man to beat, it appears, for Sunday, and he was up there in the mix on Saturday. So Stephen Miller will lead us to green over the 40 drivers in KA Senior, trying to get himself a chance to win that $1,000 cash for the main win and get some valuable championship points towards the title here with the SKUSA Pro Tour. A little more of a gap here gives us another moment to step away. When we return, we will hear from our top qualifier as he begins to roll through the scale line. So stay tight, folks. We'll be chatting with our top qualifier in KA Senior. We return.
Are you looking for an advantage in your competition? Well, Car Class has done the hard work for you. We've travelled to your racetracks to give you the inside knowledge. So what does Car Class offer? We've got drone footage that captures the racing lines, visual markers for your braking points, acceleration zones, and the best overtake opportunities on your racetrack, pedal cam to show you where to brake and when to accelerate, and 360-degree footage to make sure you don't miss any parts on the racetrack. We've covered 13 racetracks in the United States, and Australia, you're up next. So visit carclass.com to get your track information.
Are you ready to get behind the wheel? From Formula One to NASCAR and IndyCar, all the pros start here. For more information, check us out online at mcckarting.com or call us and go racing today. Here we go for qualifying for the first of two groups in the micro swift category. We'll speak with Stephen Miller potentially later on as the scale line continues to roll through for KA 100 Senior. But with the first group onto the racetrack of two for micro swift, it'll be about 18 drivers in total. No, that is the 254 that has gone around. Logan Arteta spins, and a few more, like you said, a couple joined him there. Zev Gottschalk goes around. His second run in the spin cycle today. Had one spin in the warm-up. Looked like minimal to no damage, though, but definitely a bit of a confidence blow right at the start of your first lap, Henry.
I've got to say, he was wall riding there at Logan Arteta as he went backwards. Logan, one of the Soda USA drivers, his older brother, Ethan, is a fantastic artist as we look at the first carts now coming down Scrapyard Straight. Team formation for two of the Birrell ARTs, not any longer, as That's the number 280, Liam Nachawati, for pole position, Motorsports. And behind Liam is the number 217 car, Thomas Montalvo. That is a teammate, even though the cars look slightly different. They're both Paralins, but the A&M engines. Now, if you have a little look at Thomas Montalvo, he has got a slightly different race suit on. That's because he's wearing one of Chase Gassiet-Lee's old race suits. Why is he wearing Chase Gassiet-Lee's old race suit? Because Thomas had one job to do before he left home at Lake Worth, and that was to pick up his race suit. And what did Thomas forget to do? Pick up his race suit. So he's had to scramble and borrow one of Chase Gassiet-Lee's old ones.
Unfortunate, but fortunate at the same time. Very fun to see at least the camaraderie through the pits, and Chase Gassiet-Lee continuing to be a good buddy there.
I'm not saying the race suit's a perfect fit. There are certain bits of the race suit that have been ruffled up and stuff like that because Chase is a junior and Thomas is a micro.
Might hurt him a little bit on that long straightaway.
Yeah, but certainly, he's got plenty of race suits to keep all body parts covered. There's Cameron Johnson from Franklin Motorsports, a team we haven't really talked much about. The Milwaukee-based driver, powered by the innovative engines by FMS, by Franklin Motorsports. Cameron, a quiet day yesterday. And there's another driver, Lennox Lockhart. First race out of Kid Kart, or as we call it in Europe, Bambinos. And Lennox Lockhart, 25th yesterday, learning from a more experienced driver. Well, they're all more experienced, really, but that's good to see at the back of the field now. Why have we not had, we've got Kason Sanders, who is 60 at the moment. Liam Nachawati, the 280 car, just going off your screens there, is still fastest, and Montalvo right behind him in second.
Yeah, and they were separated by only 1,000th of a second. That tells you that they were pushing for the entire lap, nose to tail. Started together, ended together. We'll see if they do the same on the second lap when that populates through. I don't believe it will. In fact, Liam Nachawati just crossed the line. When it'll update, it'll show you a new man at the top of the boards. 103.8. Now shake it up again here at the end of the third lap. Nachawati third, Ian Hamaker on the 220, a 103.16, 2.5 tenths better for the 220 of Ian Hamaker. So he goes fastest now here on lap number 3.
Yeah, Ian Hamaker, he was one of the drivers that we are looking to see if, we can break in to the top group. He was very quick in qualifying, out of luck in the race. Oh no, and there's a problem. That's Max Santana on the CRG for Alessandros Racing. And of course, Max Santana. Now that is going to be a yellow flag. That is going to be a yellow flag at some point on the circuit as the marshals try and move Santana's kart away from the barrier. I can't see on our screens now where the yellow flag is. Is that going to impact any of the drivers as they come to start their last lap? So, last lap now over. Last lap, board has gone out. There, it's just off the side of your screen there. It was at turn 1 and 2, but the marshal has got the kart up and over the barrier, so it's not going to affect lap times as we look as Logan Arteta, from spin to pole position. At the moment, Arteta moves top, pushing Hamaker down to second. Agudelo is third, Garduno is fourth. The driver you're watching now, Liam Nachawati, was fifth, but it was first and second. They're now fifth and sixth.
There's Cameron Johnson through more yellow flags waving in the middle of the racetrack as another driver went off as well. So final lap, though, this time by for Group 1 of Micro Swift. It's a Sodi lockout, first and second for the first two drivers as they head to the final few corners. The first two onto the racetrack. Can they jump up higher inside the top 5? Logan Arteta by 3.5 tenths right now over the rest of the pack. Across the line for Nachawati. And for Montalvo, no movement besides us flipping positions. They go 5th and 6th in the opposite order. Montalvo to 5th, Nachawati to 6th, but they were, it looks like, the only ones that got a 5th lap in. Everyone else did not. So the 5-minute timer hit, and Arteta sits on a 102.57. So 4 tenths here. We thought we were going to get the whole field as we were focused on those two. We did not. We only got the top two.
Maybe because the yellow flag came out quite early in the lap, and of course a lot of the drivers thought, oh, yellow flag, I've got to slow down, I'm going to pit. Possibly. Don't know. Now, as the fast group of micros go out, we're going to quickly catch up with Stephen Miller.
Stephen Miller, I mean, you're 2 for 2 this weekend on pole position. Just walk me through your lap.
Yeah, I got a good draft of Iserts. I had to pass him, which it didn't help at all. I was 2 tenths up, and that caused me to not get a big enough gap. But who knows? We got P1, so we're good here.
Sounds good. Well, congratulations on the pole.
Thank you.
And really quick here, on the other side, on the back side of the grid, Fernando Luque, you were quick yesterday, but issues for you in qualifying. Just walk me through what happened there.
Yeah, not an ideal start to today. The throttle cable got stuck, so it was like impossible to drive, but I didn't want to start last, so at least I got a lap and be like in the half the grid.
Sounds good. Well, best of luck going into the pre-final.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Caleb Jeska. And again, great. Yeah, we saw a problem. We were trying to surmise as what Fernando Luque's problem was, and it was a stuck throttle cable. So Luque battled it out at least at a time. We'll give you up to date of where he eventually qualified. And of course, Stephen Miller, he is being very, very fast now. One driver slowing down there on the main straight. That's Nolan Carney for the U-Race team. Not a problem for Nolan Carney. He just doesn't want to be first in line. And it means that all these laps will now be worth nothing because the drivers have to overtake him. Though still very early stages yet. And it is Sebastian Orioli for that MPG Motorsports kart going across the line first. Unsurprisingly, nobody making any inroads into the front runners at the moment. But now we're going to start seeing, there's Marina Brandau making the move. The number 229 car, the Velocity Racing Brandau Motorsports entered kart. Led till half a lap to go yesterday. Zane Burgess made his move and went through, so Marina knows that she left the door open and didn't defend when she needed to. She over-defended when she didn't need to defend, and then she defended when she didn't need to. But again, a learning experience. And Zane Burgess on that 255 Sony car, you can see the Jamaican flag on the front of his car, and he wants to stay close in touch with Marina Brandau. Why does he want to do that? Because he knows Marina is fast and he wants to pick up a toe from Marina. The problem he has the 236 of Michael Collins in between him and Marina. Michael Collins there on the Paralin chassis. It looks like it's a Sodi kart chassis, but it's got the black nose cone. And Mike Collins there saying, well, okay, he's got his mate Zane Burgess behind him. He's saying, okay, I know you're following. I'm not going to defend. I'm going to try and go. Marina Brandau is still trying to pull away. Lap time wise, well, Logan Arteta is still fastest. Leo Simoni is now up into P2. Hammaker down to third. Win Gottschalk is now fourth. So Agudelo is fifth. Nolan Carney is up into sixth. So now we're getting to see where some of the fast group drivers making an impact into the top five. Santiago Orioli is eighth in the number 206 kart. He crosses the line now, and Orioli goes fastest. No, he doesn't. Win Gottschalk goes fastest. Now things are changing. Leo Simoni in kart 283, who is about the 7th or 8th kart in line. He is fastest for the Trinity kart group. This is now getting into, they completed 3 laps. As we saw from the first group, some of these karts might get 5 laps in. Most of the drivers will get at least 4, so for potentially this is the penultimate flying lap for Gottschalk in kart 225, for Carney in kart 234. There's your pace man on screen now. The 283, Leo Simoni. He's got clear track in front of him, but he is giving a toe to those 2 drivers right behind him. Let's have a little look as, there's a pass behind him. That was a 228 kart getting overtaken. Lawrence Perryman will look at the start-finish line now. The order currently is Simoni, Gottschalk and Nolan Carney. We'll see when the checkered flag comes out. So these drivers are going on to another lap. Then Carney goes quickest. Zane Burgess is second. Gottschalk is third. Orioli is fourth. And now the checkered flag comes out. So some of the drivers you can see going into turn number 1, they have just done their last lap. These drivers are on a final flyer. The order is Carney, Burgess, Gottschalk, Orioli, Brandau and Simoni, with Vera and Collins 7th and 8th. We'll check to see as they come round, but Simoni is on another quick lap. So I would say that all the top 6 drivers at the moment are still on a flying lap. And it's going to be the 2:06 kart of Santiago Orioli, who is the first to cross the line. Now, let's see. Simoni is there. We've got about 8 drivers on a final flyer. Let's see who can beat Carney's time. There goes Orioli. He goes pole. Gottschalk second. Burgess now goes to pole. And it's Burgess, Orioli, Gottschalk. Carney down to 4th. There goes another Bennett across the line. That was the last lap at all. Marina Brandau drops to 8th. She doesn't improve on her final flying lap. But yesterday's winner, Zane Burgess, the Jamaican sensation, a 101.540 right at the last lap. And he will start the pre-final from pole position. And there is Max Santana walking back to his kart. And sadly, the Alessandros Racing Red Bull-backed CRG driver goes back to his kart, which is just behind the barriers there, which has been placed safely out of harm's way by our SKUSA official. The wrecker, or the recovery vehicle, will come onto the track to take that kart back to pit lane. And so, or unless, no, I can't imagine that it would restart because it stopped in the first place. So Zane Burgess, Santiago Orioli, Win Gottschalk, Nolan Carney, Sterling Mulata, Michael Collins, Luca Pizzerro and Marina Brandau, the top 9 finishers in Micro Swift. As now the entire X30 Junior grid will go out, all 20 drivers. And once again, we give our very, very best to Junhao Chang, the Super Tune USA driver, his driver coach, Mr. Nakamori-san, gets a day off. Junhao will be here in the paddock, and Junhao wanted me to say a big hello to Uncle Roger, which is Roger Young, who is out racing in Campelos, the spiritual spiritual leader of the Taiwanese karting team. And there is the number 212 kart going over the scales, and that would be Marcelo Flores. And a great little insight here into what happens at Tech. So you can see once again the SKUSA official scanning the various parts of the kart that have to be the same. And yes, you are watching Kart Chaser's coverage of the SKUSA Pro Tour, the first pro show weekend in championship history. There is the number 213 car. That is Daniel Ramirez for the Rollerson Performance Group. There goes the 212 across the line, Marcelo Flores. And there is the number 231 car. Now that's Talon Wolf. Top 6 yesterday for Talon. First real season of national racing. And so Talon, who's... Now, I'm a real sucker for paddock pooches, as anyone who watches the British Kart Championship knows. And Talon's got a golden retriever here in the paddock. And there is Santiago Orioli, the Venezuelan flag on his kart. So as the micros go through Tech, here come the juniors out on to the circuit. One driver waiting at the end, one of the RPG drivers waiting and waiting and waiting. And, Turner Brown, I think whoever is left on the grid or has gone out last was the designated driver to go out and slipstream with Turner Brown. Because Turner Brown's going out, well, where's my buddy gone? Where's my teammate gone? So Victor Alencar in the number 777 kart, he paired up with Diego Ardiles. So Turner Brown has missed out to the two fastest, well, the three fastest RPG karts, Ardiles, Alencar and Brown. They've gone out together at the very front of the group, and now you can see the scramble behind. Why are drivers doing this? Because they all want to be directly behind the two drivers they all believe, and nobody wants to go. Alencar says, well, okay, sod this for a game of chess, I've got to go. And suddenly everyone else takes off. So unfortunately for the Alencar, he is now the hare, and here are the hounds, led by the number 713 kart, Chase Gassioli. Let's have a talk about Chase Gassioli. Yesterday in the KA100 pre-final, Chase was battling for a top position, got to this point of the track and was involved in a big incident that took out several front runners as they were running to the line. In the pre-final for Junior X30, Chase Gassioli had that incident we talked about earlier with Turner Brown and was then forced to fight back past a whole heap of drivers, past 30 drivers in the final of KA100 Junior, and eventually finished in the top 6 at the back of the grid in this class. So Chase Gassioli, second year in a go-kart and a real star of the future. Now, in front of Chase is the Speed Concepts Racing number 703, Jackson Walney. He's chasing Ty Fisher, and they're both chasing Alexander Vonchev, who are all chasing the front runners. So a lot of the lead drivers have realised, okay, if we're at the front, we may get an extra lap in. So they all want to get out to the front. They all want to try and follow one of the two RPG karts that set the pace yesterday. Victor de Alencar has said, okay, well, I'm going to go. The 793 of Diego Ardiles is chasing de Alencar. So de Alencar has put himself, well, we'll see if it's at a disadvantage. You know, one would think it normally would be a slight disadvantage because he hasn't got anyone to follow, and everyone can follow and potentially get a slipstream off him. There is Sarah Bradley in the number 758 kart. She got only her second National Series podium yesterday, had a second place finish in the 2023 SKUSA Winter Series, but Pro Tour, that was her first podium yesterday. They're following Nathan Dupuis in the number 741 kart, the Super Tune kart. There is Nathan just coming across your screen there. There's Vonchev and Fisher trying to work together. We have got a minute and a half to go, so let's bring you up to speed of who is quick. Diego Ardiles, using that toe from Victor Alencar, leads the way, but no Turner Brown. Turner Brown running far further back in the pack. He has gone fastest. It's 55.101. Ardiles second, Alencar third. It's an RPG 1-2-3. Walney, Dupuis, Max Weiland, Major Makovskis and Edward Kennedy, the rest of the top 8. There's a minute to go. There is Vonchev. There's Vonchev on the number 706 Anello Racing kart, chasing Ty Fisher. Now, this is where the drivers are going to be coming to complete what should be their penultimate flying lap. Brown, Ardiles, de Alencar. Brown much deeper in the pack. Now, Ardiles improves to a 54.8. Walney goes second. They're looking at the driver, and not a great lap for Vonchev. Turner Brown, he gets across the line before the checkered flag comes out and goes fastest. So we're not looking at him. He's further back in the pack. In fact, there may be Turner Brown coming out of turn number 5 now. There he is. Oh, he's got traffic on his last lap. So he's provisional pole at the moment. He's not going to improve. He's got the target on his back, and Ardiles, who are going to be coming to the line very shortly, the front drivers in the train, they're the ones. Checkered flag is out. Brown won't improve. Here are the drivers. No, we're still a bit further back in the pack.
Yeah, this is Brown further back, right? We'll switch over to the leaders when they come to the line. Turner Brown still trying to finish the lap. Here comes the first few across the stripe. Checkers in the air for Victor de Alencar. 54.61. Ardiles is better. 54.54. Turner Brown still to go. Weiland clocks to 5th. Big lap from Ramirez. Bigger lap from Chico Brown, making a pass on his final lap 54.35, 2/10 clear, Henry. 2/10 clear, and he passed someone offline into that corner right there. Turn number 6. Chico, wow.
What's the golden rule of qualifying? Don't overtake people. If you overtake somebody, you're going to lose time on your lap. He did it and still went quicker. He did not have optimum track position. He didn't have the drivers around him that were quicker, and yet he still gets it done.
So impressive from Turner Brown to put it on pole. Let's take a quick look at the results sheet if we can. We'll see the final results from qualifying. Again, Turner Brown to our Ardiles, Ramirez, De Alencar, Wolney, Weiland as he got bumped by Wolney, who also slipped through the cracks there with us focusing on Turner Brown, Fisher, Kennedy, Gassiet Lee, Cole Medeiros. Now, while the next group goes out for Masters, Shifters, and K Master will go after them. Let's go down to the scale house because Alex Searle has caught up here with one of our micros.
Thank you, Xander. As junior qualifying just got finished and wrapped up here, I'm with your Micro Swift pole sitter, Zane. You've become, accustomed and used to winning pole positions here. How awesome is it to grab a pole here?
Amazing, just to win yesterday and try to win today.
And one more thing here, you won yesterday, like you said. What can you do to win today?
Focus, listen to my Coach Juan and the whole team.
Thank you, Zane.
You're welcome.
Short, sweet, to the point, but with a big smile across his face as he will lead us to the flag. Now, Michael Gouache yesterday seemed to have probably the biggest roller coaster of emotions day, I think, out of anyone, and that's a big saying considering all of the attrition that happened in the Master Shifter category. But first of all, qualifying, decent. Not spectacular, not bad. Leads the first lap of the pre-final through everything. Then crashes at the end of lap 1 into turn number 1. Comes back from the back of the field in the main event. Drives forward, gets into a podium spot, crashes in traffic again. High, then low, high, then low. He's the first one out on the track here today to feel out the conditions. Hopefully today will be a little bit better for the number 3 plate of Michael Gouache as he takes that Maranello kart to turn 6.
Well, what Gouache is regretting walking under the ladder on the way to the circuit this morning. He's hoping he got his entire roster of bad luck and misfortune, wrong place, wrong time, out of the way early, out of the way that one day. Now, but we'll see. At the moment, he is just outside the top 5. Luis Quinones in car number 629 is fastest. So there is hopefully now the factory kart gear linkage problem for the Luis A. Quinones, who we're watching now. Hopefully that has been solved. Billy Musgrave's team having a bit of a miserable time yesterday. A lot of speed shown by all their drivers and not the results to show for it. But it's Gouache who has gone fastest, and from Joe Rook, Skitchy Barnes yesterday's winner, and Juan Pablo Rico, which is, Gouache wants to prove to himself, okay, look, I was fastest out of everybody yesterday. One issue in the pre-final that might have been a mistake, we don't know, or maybe a mechanical failure, took him out. And then the final, a situation out of my control with a Masters driver, unfortunately the wrong place on time. Oh, and Lewis.
Oh no, does he have a problem again?
Well, I'm not sure.
Maybe you just let him go.
Yeah, maybe I let him go. He wants to follow these two guys. There's Skitchy Barnes in car number 609, and Skitchy is being chased by Joe Rook. So yeah, there's two drivers to follow. I don't know though. He's let them go, and I wonder, we'll maybe see the characteristics of the factory car. Yeah, the factory car is slowing down.
Yeah, as we watch Skitchy Barnes and Joe Rook, we'll keep an eye on the back there with Luis A. Quinones and see what may be the issue as it develops. But for these two, I mean, they seem to be the overall class of the field yesterday. Skitchy had a perfect day in terms of mechanicals, and then, of course, just surviving the day to win the pre-final and win the main. He's top of the boards right now over Ruck by half a tenth. Joe, on the other hand, not the best day. We had that great shot from our low camera angle at turn 7 and 8 of that left rear tire. First, the left rear tire was working itself loose, and then he had a different mechanical also with shifter linkage struggling coming out of the hairpin the lap prior. So whether those two were combined into the same issue or not, the easier to understand one for the viewers is the lug nuts came off as Joe got in way too deep to turn number 1. And the thing about Joe Ruck, he's typically a much better racer than a qualifier. I can't tell you the number of times I've watched him over the last 2 seasons that we've been streaming all these different divisions where Joe Ruck has something amiss and has to drive to the field. He had no issue with it in the pre-final, and he's proving me wrong right now, though.
Well, he's gone fastest, and that's because he probably thought, you know what, I'm going to gun it across the start-finish line, and I'm not going to brake until go too late in the turn number 1 to maximise my speed across the line. That bit worked for him, and then the other bit that worked for him was why he didn't crash into his teammates.
Well, they're coming to the line now. Final time through. Skitchy Barnes, yesterday's winner, needs 400 to beat the 52.76 by Joe Ruck as they hit the start-finish line straight. Let's see, can he do it? Can Skitchy put Bermuda back on top? He can. 52.7. Holy moly, Juan Pablo Rico just clocked up 52.25. He just put half a second on the entire shifter master field in that final lap. Yao Carlos Fregonese as well to second.
Yeah, we weren't looking at them. They were working together. The Orlando Kart Center, Tony Kart chassis. Joao Carlos Fregonese has just gone and joined Juan Pablo Rico on the front row of the grid. Rico was third right until the end. Skitchy Barnes and Joe Rook, third and fourth. Luis A. Quinones and Gouache, 5th and 6th.
Wow, what a shakeup there at the line. You saw them pop through right past the Maranellos, so it will not be a red and yellow lock out of the front row again here. It will now be them on row 2, and then Gouache back on row 3. It's Rico and Fregonese on the front row of Shifter Master over Barnes to Ruck, Quinones, Gouache, Quinones again there, Luis Noe Quinones in 7th, Ken Schilling 8th, and Fabio Mendonca in 9th. Now, KA Masters on grid. They'll be going out in a moment. In the meantime, let's go hear from our top qualifier, an X30 Junior, who made a pass and at the same time managed to still go 2/10 better than the entire field, Chico Brown. Caleb?
Thank you, Xander. Chico, a much better start to your day today, right? Unfortunate ending to yesterday, but today putting it on pole position here.
Yeah, for sure, a better start to the day after yesterday. Really pumped to be on the pole. We had great pace, and I think we can go at a shot for it in the final.
Yeah, and just talk to me about the track a little bit, right? Before the interview, you were telling me that it has changed a lot since yesterday. Just walk me through what you were feeling out there.
With the colder conditions, I think the track is less greasy, and overall, I think that made it a lot faster. So it's going to be some really quick lap times in the pre-final, I think. So, yeah, we'll just have to see.
Sounds good. Well, there you guys have it. That's Turner Brown, and I really think the number in the back explains it all.
There you go, right there in the number 1 tech stall for Turner Brown. We will hear potentially from our top qualifier, Juan Pablo Ricos. We got problems in KA Masters qualifying right off the rip for Charlie Fonseca, the Zanella Racing Tony Kart that battled it out and got the lead multiple times throughout yesterday's main and route to the win over Jakob Neri. Charlie Fonseca ends up off on the sidelines here in KA Masters. So unfortunate for Charlie. A great end to yesterday. He will have to start tail end. Granted, a short grid for KA Masters. That's the one saving grace. There is still going to be a lot of time to get through just a handful of go-karts. But no laps in qualifying might end up panning out a little better for him with fresher tires, Henry.
Yeah, and of course, this is another class that Mario Barrios was supposed to be driving in. So his absence opened the door, and now Charlie Fonseca's absence from the front of the grid of at least the pre-final will give the likes of Jacob Neri, Alfonso Santiago, Michelle Garrido, who knows, maybe even the ageless wonder Tom Gersner to steal a really good result in the pre-final. Now, yesterday's final, we saw a lot of battling between these two, two of the Alessandros Racing Karts teammates. They had a great battle to the line, and it was, I'm just trying to think.
So it was Ruben Ravello and team owner Diego Rodriguez, because Michelle Garrido was the third. He was the one that was involved in that crash with Michael Gouache in the traffic. Jacob Neri there on screen in the AEM Karting LN kart. He was second in yesterday's main, and through it all was kind of second best to Mario Barrios. So it looked like it was going to be his race to win when Barrios was out with an injury for the final, but Charlie Fonseca ended up stealing the show. All four of those cars together will stay side by side on them, while at the same time we hear from the man who is top of the pylon right now on that U-Race Tony Kart, Juan Pablo Rico. He is on pole by 4.5 tenths in Shifter Masters.
Thank you, Xander. Juan Pablo, I mean, you were telling me for the interview, you haven't driven a shifter in over 30 years. Would you say that qualifying lap was the lap that it all came together for you?
Yeah. I've been learning every lap. Every time I go to a track, I learn something new. And actually, the warm-up in wet tires was the thing that works better for me because I learned what I need to do for the qualifying. So everything works now, but it's just one step. The race is long, it's difficult. I'm very troubled with the start still. I haven't done 2 starts in my whole life, so I have to improve that today.
Thank you, Juan Pablo.
Thank you.
Well, he's got an easy place to do the starts from, the inside of the front row. So best of luck to Juan Pablo Rico as he'll get to be on the front starting position center to the screen for Shifter Master. Meanwhile, in KA Master, a couple positions shuffling. We were checking the results while we stepped away, Henry, for the two Alessandro's drivers on your screen. The red suit, Ruben Ravello. The black suit, blue and white helmet, is Diego Rodriguez. The team owner, both disqualified for various reasons. One being underweight, one with a soldier check, a tech infraction. So while they were fireworks on the racetrack, fireworks continued off the racetrack, didn't go in their favor.
Yeah, and of course the fireworks, he goes, one of them is the team owner of Alessandro's Racing, and the other one is the main customer of Alessandro's Racing. And team owner on track at least eventually edged out his customer.
So Jacob Neary, there you saw, get the wave by from Ravello. He drops all the way behind Diego Rodriguez. So they've allowed Jacob to go through on this final lap. Now that's going to burn them on the last lap, so I think one of them bailed. I think Ravello bailed into the scale line early here with just 4 complete. These guys are working the final lap, lap 5. Top of the boards right now in K Master goes to Michelle Garrido, turning around from yesterday, but only by 5 thousandths over Jacob Neary on that blue and yellow LN kart. So we'll wait and check the start-finish line, because here is the run to the checkers. Garrido's a little bit up the road from these two, so as they round the final turn, coming onto the front straightaway, I believe if Garrido did not bail, no, he did. Garrido, I think, has bailed to the pit lane. This is Neary. He needs 5 thousandths. Does he get it? No! Nothing for Neary. Ravello did stay on the racetrack. He did not go much better, though. Stays third. Rodriguez fourth. Alfonso Santiago on that Orsilon Tony kart across the line. No change either behind Rodriguez, just ahead of Tom Gerstner. But Michelle Garrido only 3 laps, 2 laps short. The earliest bailout we've seen so far in qualifying. That, if anything, is a good testament to the racetrack being back up to fast conditions all the way through the session. But Michelle Garrido, your fastest man by 5 thousandths of a second. Congratulations to the Miami, Florida driver as he works his way through the scale line here for KA Masters. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, a quick break, and when we return, Mini Swift for the 2 groups will be the final class to qualify in the final part of the morning coverage here from the SuperKarts USA Pro Tour Winter Nationals. This is your free coverage, pre-finals and finals for the semi-pro race day here from Micro Swift up to the Masters classes. Will be exclusive to KC Premium members, so make sure you have your subscription ready. And then the Pro Show later this afternoon. If you're only watching the free coverage, it returns at 3:45 p.m. Eastern later on today. We'll talk to Michelle when we return from Orlando.
Studies show that even the best current generation of simulators only convince 50% of the human brain that they are real. Here at SimCraft, that just isn't realistic enough. Developed to offer the most realistic karting sim experience in the world, all testing has shown that the physics engine used in SimCraft's Grid 1 model convinces 90% of the human brain that you are actually on track. Now that is the real deal.
So you finally want to get behind the wheel, huh?
Yeah, I've been shooting for 3 years and I've never got to drive.
Well, you're going to need some more gear than just your helmet. Why don't you go to shopakr.com. They got their inventory online and they'll ship it the same day if you order before 5:30 p.m. Eastern.
They got shoes?
Yep.
Gloves?
Yep.
Rip protectors?
Got those too.
Can they make me go fast?
No.
Here at Acceleration Kart Racing, we've got everything you need to get on track. What happens next? Well, that's on you. Check us out online at shopakr.com.
Here at MPG Motorsports, our main goal is to provide the best pathway into professional motorsports for our entire team, drivers and mechanics alike. We're based out of Whiteland Raceway Park in Indiana. For more information, contact us at chase@mpg-motorsports.com.
Mini Swift onto the racetrack. Final group for qualifying, first of two groups here in the 40 driver class. This is the bottom half again from Friday happy hour, so we'll see how they line up. The first lap underway, so the out lap complete. Alexis Bayarjan, the first one out of the pit lane, no surprise, quickest initially. He was also one of the fastest drivers when we were here for the Road Tax Max Challenge Winter Trophy, so no used to being able to get around this racetrack more than some of the other drivers at a higher grip level. Granted, different engine package, different tire, but still, cold tires, out lap, give it to the Canadian by a 6/10 margin.
Yes, but not all has not been well for Bayerja. Chassis issues, engine problems, and as you look there, we talked about it in the final yesterday, the setup has been raked. The nose cone is very high, the rear bumper is very low, and as you look, they'll be coming down Scrapyard Straight. Wonder if we'll get on that shot next time around. You actually have little sparks flying off under the side of Bayerjan's kart. So they've adjusted that setup. You know, it's really, really low on the chassis, and it looks visually different to some of the other drivers.
Yeah, it definitely does. He has the probably most non-traditional ride height of any other go-kart, but again, he's only one of a handful of Bureau Arts in the field, and I believe maybe the only one in the Mini Swift category. I know he's the only PSL karting entry in the division, but maybe only one or two other Bureau Arts, if that, in this class. So that if there were more, there may be other raked karts in total. 3 in total on the grid. Zero. Zero. My apologies.
Zero. Yeah.
So he's by himself in this division, and well, it didn't look that good there.
No, but you can see there's like virtually the rear bumper is like touching the ground, and then you look at some of these other karts there. For example, that Energy Core shot kart there, the number 110 of Luciano Diaz. That's a more traditional kart setup. Yes, there's the only barrel, and of course, I'm looking at the entry list, and of course, there's each chassis manufacturer. You've got several different brands of chassis in the same sort of overarching manufacturer, OTK, for example. I don't think there's another member of the Birrell karting family in this class. So Bayerjan, young driver, trying to develop the chassis, trying to get the chassis to work. He signed this year a long contract with PSL Karting, so he's on what he's on, and now it's up to him to develop as well.
Well, as he rounds turn at number 8 and 9 and heads on to the backstretch towards turn 10, he's lost a little bit of time, and he's obviously fallen off the top of the pylon here. Jaime Garcia has gone to the top in the 130. The 154 behind him catching on is Asher Pavon. He's actually even on a better lap this time. Look how much closer he's gotten. The same with the 164 machine, I believe, a little further back. That's maybe the 184. That's the 184 SLA Kart Racing of Nathan Ramirez. Here's the laps coming by for lap number 4. Second to last lap of the session, we believe. As they cross on through, big shuffle again. The top two didn't improve. Schniegenberg did not go better. Neither did Garcia. Ramirez did go better a little bit time-wise. He's still third. John McClellan moved up the lap before at the end. He's still yet to cross. He's one of the last drivers in this group, John McClellan is. He hasn't even crossed the line yet still. So we'll have to wait a long time when we get around to the checkers to wait and see on the 128. As there he goes, now to the top, 101.061 for John McClellan. So we'll be waiting on that finish line shot for quite a while when these guys head down the back.
Yeah, McClellan was fastest in this group yesterday as well. Jaime Garcia, Schniegenberg, Saperco, Ramirez, Vianbindi, and Kubinski are the order at the moment. So I would say that the checker flag will be waiting for them as they come around, and that's not going to help the number 184 of Nathan Ramirez. Here we go. Bayerjan, can he make it up the order on his final fly lap? He goes 6th, and Schniegenberg goes fastest. Schniegenberg, McClellan, Garcia, Saperco is the order at the moment. Now we wait for John McClellan. He crosses the line and does not improve Schneegenberg, Colton Schneegenberg for the energy on the energy chassis for Team Go Win Races is fastest in the slope.
Actually, we learned yesterday, remember, he's on the Tony kart for Team Junior.
Yes,
Been on energy
yes.
for so long, entered even as energy, but actually a Tony kart for the European racing he's been doing with Ward Racing. They wanted him on the same material over here. Now let's go, while we wait on the fast group, they're going to start their out lap. Let's go side by side as we keep an eye on that massive pack headed onto the racetrack with the scale house and our fast qualifier who is looking for a better Sunday, Michelle Garrido. Alex?
Thank you, Xander. Here with your pole sitter in the K Masters class, Michelle Garrido. Michelle, yesterday, not so good of a day. Today, so far, so good. Walk me through your qualifying session.
Yeah, exactly. Yesterday was a pretty tough day. Today, we just kind of went back to what we had on Friday, and it seemed to work out. Track is drying up pretty good. We're still lacking a little bit of grip, but the lap time came in, so we're going to try to make a little tweaks in there and hopefully be ready for the pre-final.
Yeah, you and Jacob Neary there were 0.005 apart there. This race is looking to be very, very close. What can we expect? What can you expect heading into the races later this afternoon?
Yeah, as I said, we just need to find that little bit extra speed. He seems to be very quick, especially coming out of the corners is where I'm lagging a little bit. So if we can fix that, I think it's going to be a pretty interesting shootout.
Yeah, and then the race pace here. You mentioned Jacob seems to be a little bit quicker. I mean, did you learn anything from yesterday in terms of your overall race pace that you can carry into today?
Not really. Yesterday was quite complicated, being mixed with the shifters. So we didn't really have clean sessions, and I got taken out twice by some of the shifter guys. So yesterday was kind of like a missed day, so we're just going back to Friday.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you, guys.
Back to the on-track action here with Michelle Garrido. Like he said, that the track was different. They were offline. The shifters were working through. They finally get clear racetrack with the split groups for the pre-final and the final for the Masters drivers. Now, in Mini Swift, this is the fast group, and they went out in a big pack onto the racetrack. They've separated a little bit here as we watch the Texan Royce Vega go through. Who's your fastest on the out lap right now? It's Mika Baruch in the 1:18. Maxwell Macha, Grayson Walcott, but Royce Vega was fourth on his out lap. He's in a decent spot because he is right behind the fastest driver from yesterday through both the pre-final and the final, pole position Motorsports own Alessandro Truccio.
Yeah, the Benik team that Royce Vega drives for found something between the pre-final and the final, because Vega was not near the front pack of the grid in qualifying. Already the pre-final came alive in the final. That great blanket finish at the end, and you can see that, well, all the players from yesterday's final, the three main players, are on screen. There's a bit of a gap separating this. Truccio, and then Vega, and then behind them, Lorenzo Pereira, the Brazilian driver. Once again, you're looking at the different styles. Pereira's a bit taller, Truccio pint-sized, and Royce Vega sort of, sort of in the middle in terms of the height of the three drivers, and it affects the way they actually drive the go-karts.
Yeah, again, yesterday, even, for these guys, different racetrack, different conditions with the air temperature different. Does that matter at all? Maybe a little bit in driver size when you're, not necessarily having to fight for more grip, or today maybe you are with the recently dried out racetrack and still cooler air temperatures. As this pack kind of comes together, we've seen them play leapfrog at the front twice now, Henry.
Yes. But so we're going to have to try and maybe find Mika Baruch, because since we last mentioned it, all these drivers have completed another flying lap, and it's still Mika Baruch, who is much further back in the train of karts, has now moved to pole position overall. I think that might change as they come to line. Marco Samut will be the first driver to lead them over the line. Let's have a look. Truccio, Vega, Woon. Baruch goes third again. So Ashton Woon is now fastest. Marco Samut on our screen is not in the top 9. That's not going to help the chasing pack. The hare is not as quick as the hounds. So Samut unintentionally be slowing all these drivers down.
And I don't know how much when he got around the Cosmic of Yago Lempin, it hurt his lap, because he's back in the mid-20s right now, and he goes a little wide out of 8. Now Lempin is going to bail, and he'll let them go. Vega looking to go low to make a pass. Lempin let Truchot by. Rocco Simone making passes. They're all still shuffling, trying to get in position for the final lap. Marco Samet, he needs a push, but I don't think Truchot is going to give it to him. I think based on what we saw at Alessandro in qualifying yesterday, he may pass him. So this might not be a good lap here. Might not be the best session for Marco Samet. I think he's in a rough spot. Truchot's going to push him at least to turn 1. That'll help him go to 10th. But Alessandro, a decent lap in 9th or 8th. Now Samet to 11th. New driver to the top. Baruch goes again. He's in the middle of this group, I believe, on a Paralin in the 118. So Mika Baruch.
Was he moved? He's part of the Sodi car team.
Oh, sorry, Sodi, you're right.
Yeah, so, I don't think that Baruch is in this group. Baruch is in the next group behind the drivers who are watching. In fact, let's have a look. We're trying to pick up a Sodi car. There's a Sodi car with a black nose cone. Now, Baruch did nose into the barriers at one point, and I'm looking there. Yeah, so Baruch is one of these two Sodi cars. Now he's caught traffic. This should be the final lap indeed. So, Baruch, Woon, Simone, Varela, Bergman, your top 5 as they come to the line.
And watch Maxwell Macha on the time charts. He's that yellow helmet. Perfect position. End of the pack. Started 5 car lengths back. Is going to end 3 back. Here comes the checkers. Run to the line. Mini Swift. Samet getting a push from Truchot. Where do they go? 8th and 9th. Here, no change in the most of the group. Baruch doesn't go better. Does Macha go better? He does not either. He's still back in 15th. Big lap out of Luke Giglio. The 168 Georgia native on the RPM. Kart Republic to 2nd. Luke Giglio to the front row. But Mika Baruch on that Sodi. His 4th lap will hold. 1 minute 2:66, a 10th over Giglio, then Ashton Woon, then Simone, Lorenzo Varela, Troy Ferguson you saw on your screen, and the Bennett made a pass in turn 10. That burned his last lap. They were too close together. They were on top of each other, and maybe their tire pressures being higher, trying to anticipate lower grip. With the track getting grip now, the 4th lap was the money lap.
The group that we were watching, the fast group, they got too close together on the last lap and tripped over one another. Luke Giglio, who was much further back, timed his run perfectly. And Mika Baruch, well done. I believe that is his maiden Pro Series pole position. And a real big fillip for a driver that had a very scary crash. Fire earlier on here this season in Orlando Kart Center at another event. He will now get a bit of redemption as we prepare to go into the pre-finals.
50 carts coming your way here, folks. We will switch over to the KC Premium Member live stream, so we'll go dark for a moment. We will return momentarily. Enzo Vidmontien on the Trinity Karting Group Kart Republic. Our race winner from yesterday, trying to go back-to-back and sweep opening weekend of the SKUSA Pro Tour when we return here from Orlando.